You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there. You can feel it.
Get up on out the bed, start to move your balls. Wake up a word, it's Solomon Jones. Word. You better wake up now.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD. And I want to welcome you to another edition of Wake Up with Word. Kwesa, how you feeling this morning?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
feeling pretty good, you know. Camera's on me. Well, it's not on me now. Oh, good. Perfect. That's great. Okay, never mind then. I was getting a little nervous. I actually had to put some, I put a little lip gloss on.
Right,
I didn't want
right.
people to see me looking a little, I didn't want people to look raggedy. Yeah. But I'm not on camera, so
Yeah,
I'm good.
but no, I just saw you a minute ago,
Yeah,
so
no.
you are. So, tune in to Facebook Live, and now you can see Kwesa as well as me, so you don't just have to see some bald-head black dude. You can also see... You can also see Kwesa, so... she is going to be there, so you can tune in on Facebook Live. Just go to facebook.com/onWURD. That's FORWURD. We are at FORWURD on Facebook. So check us out. There's a whole lot of stuff that black people are going through, man. Psychologists call it racial trauma. The distress experienced because of the accumulation of racial discrimination, racial violence, or institutional racism. And it can affect anybody who faces repeated prejudice. But right now, in this moment, at this time, on this day, its impact on black people is drawing particular attention. And there's an irony to it. The very tool that may be helping to make more people aware of the racism and violence that black people face is also helping to fuel our trauma. So we're watching these videos. We're seeing these incidents. We're seeing it over and over and over again, and it's traumatizing. And so here's my advice. If you want to see these things, you watch it. And you see it and you let it go. Don't go back and watch it again and again and again. Don't internalize it. Don't allow it to control your emotions. Go and see something else. Go and do something else. Experience some joy. Experience some happiness. Don't just mire yourself in these things, because the very thing that is exposing our trauma is making us feel worse, and we cannot have that. We got a hot show for you today on Wake Up with Word. We'll talk coronavirus with board-certified physicians Dr. Delana Wardlaw and Dr. Elena McDonald. CNN commentator Roxanne Jones on Trump, Cam Newton, and more. State Senator Anthony Hardy Williams talks about his Racial Equality Solutions Tour. Journalist Sean Sullivan on his findings in the New Jersey Force Report. Mark Diamondstein of the American Postal Workers Union on the Trump administration's attempt to privatize the Postal Service. And as always, we've got you, our listeners, calling in at 215-634-8065. A toll-free 1-866-361-0900. Hit us on Twitter and Instagram at onWURD, or you can hit me personally at Solomon Jones 1. Watch us on Facebook at Forward. But first, it's the big three, the news stories you need to know to kick off your day right here on Wake Up with Word. Story number one, the Supreme Court on Monday struck down a Louisiana law that could have left the state with a single abortion clinic, dashing the hopes of conservatives who were counting on President Trump's appointments to lead the court to sustain restrictions on abortion rights and eventually to overrule Roe versus Wade. Instead, conservatives suffered a setback, and from an unlikely source, Chief Justice John Roberts added his crucial fifth vote to those of the court's four-member liberal ring, saying that respect for precedent compelled him to do so, even though he had voted to uphold an essentially identical Texas law in a 2016 dissent. In the past 2 weeks, the Chief Justice has voted with the court's liberal wing in three major cases: on job discrimination against LGBT workers, on a program protecting young undocumented immigrants known as Dreamers, and now on abortion. While he has on occasion disappointed his usual conservative allies, notably on Obamacare, nothing in his 15-year tenure on the court compares to the recent run of liberal votes in major cases. And so there you have it. They struck down a Louisiana law that would have basically left a lot of abortion clinics in the state closed. Kwesa, what do you think?
I'm honestly happy that it was struck down, to be honest. I think that what people need to understand also is that abortion clinics don't just perform abortions. They also, perform other, medical care services for men and women. And so, I personally feel that if you are going to, only have one, location for people to go, you're limiting their access to health care, which to me, I feel like it infringes on our civil rights. It really does. I am pro-abortion. I am. I wouldn't do it for myself. I wouldn't. But I also feel that you should not knock someone's right to choose. And so, I think that it was definitely a step in the right direction.
Well, as you know, I'm not pro-abortion. But I don't think that it should be the only issue that we vote on. I don't think it's the only issue that we should judge people on or judge our society on. And I don't think that people who get abortion should be demonized. I don't. I think that a lot of people who are loudest on the issue of abortion, and here's the problem I have with it, are men, right? And it doesn't affect you. It's not something that you can do. And so what it becomes is something that you can point at other people and say, look at how bad you are. Look at how sinful you are. Look at the thing that you did. Like, it's the most terrible thing in the world. There's nothing more terrible than that. And what it does is it almost makes you judge and jury over something that really doesn't affect you. You can't do. So the worst thing in the world is something that you can't do, and therefore you can never be this worst person in the world. It's kind of twisted the way that happens. I am not in favor of it. I'm not. But I think that we have to have a measure of grace for people. We have to have a measure of love for people. And so the whole, I'm going to decide everything that happens in this country based on one issue, I'm not here for it. I'm just going to be honest with you. And so we'll see what happens with this. But John Roberts is kind of surprising some folks because he was supposed to be this conservative justice. And it turns out that he is somebody who's going to look at things, from my view, on a case-by-case basis. That's the best you can hope for, man. Whether he's conservative, liberal, or anything in between, what you hope is that he looks at things on a case-by-case basis and decides from there. We had so many stories today that we had to do a 1A, Kwesa. 1A is this. Members of Congress in both parties demanding answers on Monday about reported bounties paid by Russian operatives to Afghan insurgents for targeting American troops. The stories appeared to have taken even the most senior lawmakers off guard, and they said they wanted briefings soon from the Defense Department and the intelligence community. The story is unfolding along two parallel tracks in Washington based on two questions. First, what actually happened? Have any American troops been killed as a result of the Russian-sponsored targeted actions? And second, who knew what about the reporting on these allegations that has flowed up from the operational level in Afghanistan? Bottom line, what did the president know? When did he know it? And was he talking to Putin about it? Bottom line, were you aware that they were putting bounties on American troops and you did nothing except kiss Vladimir Putin's butt? That's what I want to know. Did you know about it and put your own interest, your own selfish interest before those of the troops you claim to love so much? Kwesa, what do you think?
I think that he knew. I mean, there's reports about the fact that they have, these meetings and, he wants people to tell him things, but he ain't paying attention, or he's over talking people, so he knew. He might not have been paying attention, but I think he knew. Yeah. I think he knew, and I think that he wants to cozy up so much to Vladimir Putin and Russia that he is willing to put American lives on the line.
I agree, which brings us to story number 2. The former Minneapolis police officer charged with killing George Floyd and the 3 other officers accused of aiding and abetting in his death appeared in court on Monday Monday for a pretrial hearing. Derek Chauvin, who's charged with second-degree murder in Floyd's death on May 25th, appeared remotely via video wearing an orange uniform and a mask. Much of the hearing centered on public comments that have been made about the state's criminal investigation. But there you have it. They appeared in court. We'll see what happens with that. And, of course, story number 3, right here in Philadelphia. The officer who sprayed tear gas into the face of protesters on I-76 have been fired. That's one thing that happened. The second thing that happened is this. Chief Inspector Anthony Boyle, one of the highest-ranking officials in the Philadelphia Police Department, was suspended Monday with intent to dismiss after an internal affairs investigation found neglect of duty, failure to supervise, and conduct unbecoming an officer. The Internal Affairs Bureau previously sustained charges against Boyle for failing to supervise in connection with a narcotics scandal. That meant that the charges for a final determination by the Police Board of Inquiry, though any final action by the disciplinary board has not been made public. At the time, Boyle said he had adhered to legitimate and long-standing procedures. Boyd allegedly instructed staff to clear street corners of toads and scum, inviting officers to run over the feet of those who did not move quickly enough. But the other thing that he did, and it's kind of buried in this story, was he twisted the arm of a black female police captain, right? And nothing was done. And so he has now been suspended for 30 days with intent to dismiss. And I want to know what you think about it. Here you have this longtime white commander in the police department who basically assaulted a black female police captain. And nothing was done about it until now. When we look at the other issue with the tear gas, that is something that is beginning to bubble up, and people are upset that tear gas was used on protesters, and people are upset that what happened with the tear gas was talked about more when it happened on I-76 with a lot of white folks than it was in West Philadelphia with a lot of black folks. And so I want to know what you think about that as we look at what happened with these protests, where it happened, and what was emphasized. I want to know what you think about it, because tear gas was used on I-76 when people blocked I-76, but guess what? It was used in West Philly as well, and we didn't hear a whole lot about that. I want to know what you think. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in. Let's go to Antoinette from Southwest on line 1. Go ahead, Antoinette.
Oh, how you doing, Brother Solomon and Queen Kawesa?
Good.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I was calling because I just wanted to come in and congratulate Queen Kawesa. It was like a long time overdue. I'm so happy and proud of her. And I was wondering if anybody from personnel from WRD reach out to Brother Mo's family, because I'm trying to get information on, a memorial or services, but no one seems to know.
Yeah,
anything.
we don't. Unfortunately, we don't have that information.
Oh, okay. And then my other comment was that that officer should be charged with murder, intentional murder. And the other brother, where they covered it up for like months, all those that were involved, they all should be fired because they took and hindered and interfered with the investigation of the murder of our brothers.
I don't know which case you're talking about.
Which case was it where it was like hid and it didn't come out until like months later?
I'm not sure. There's a lot of cases like that. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
The one that you
oh, that wasn't a murder.
That your presentation.
Yeah, that wasn't a murder. That was somebody who assaulted another officer. It was a white inspector, Chief Inspector Boyle, who assaulted a black female captain and twisted her arm and tried to take her to the ground. That this was a while ago, and he has just been suspended for that and some other things.
Yeah, because I know this one is like most recently.
Yeah, Antoinette, I'm sorry, I don't know what case you're talking about. If you can call back and let me know what you're talking about, and we'd be happy to talk about that. Let's go to Miss Mary from Winfield on line 2. Go ahead, Miss Mary.
Good morning, son, and thank you for taking my call, and good morning, Word family.
You're welcome.
I am calling to comment number 1 on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Uh-huh.
If I'm not mistaken, and please correct me, this briefing was supposed to have been told to him in 2019.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Corona was 2019.
Yep.
He knew about. I'm just throwing these little things out there this morning. So, He double hockey stick. He did know. He don't care. And just like you said, kiss it up on that backside.
Yep.
Now to get to this inspector. He's been in narcotics for a good while. He has a history in narcotics.
Okay.
I commend that female captain and all of those officers, no matter what color they are, that are standing behind her and with her. He had no right putting his hands on her. Okay? Now, here we go again with the FOP, because he's been suspended 2 years now. He put his hands on that woman. Flipped a coin 2 years ago, had a black inspector put his hands on a white female captain.
How about that?
Okay, so those are my comments this morning. And Word family, my condolences do go out to Mo. I loved hearing him talk. I've never met him. I always considered him by his voice a man of stature, like 6 feet, like a Paul Robeson type. I don't know. But my condolences do go out to Word family and to Joey. That was his best walking buddy from back in the day, you know. So I just wanted to give those comments this morning. Word family, stay well, stay blessed, cover your face, and above all, please stay focused. God bless.
God bless you, too, and thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD Radio. If you want to get in, it's 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. And let us know where you are on these various things we're talking about on this morning show, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That's the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. And let us know where you are on these various things we're talking about. So apparently Trump did receive a written briefing in February on possible Russian bounties. And, you know, so there's no question that he received it. The question is, did he read it? You know what I mean? And based on what I have seen from him in his presidency, doesn't seem like he reads much of anything. I'm being honest. Doesn't seem like he reads much of anything. Doesn't seem like he has the attention span to be able to get details about things. He's winging it all the time. One of the things we're going to talk about a little bit later on in the show is some of the calls that he's had with world leaders. There's a whole report out that says that the people around him were appalled by the calls that he had with these world leaders, and that he in particular was very rude, gruff, and even almost sadistic with female world leaders like Theresa May from Great Britain and Angela Merkel from Germany. Very disrespectful to these women. Called Angela Merkel stupid on the phone, right? Called Theresa May weak on the phone. Like, you talking to another world leader. And so contrast that with the way that he treated Vladimir Putin, with this deference, with this respect, with this almost bowing down to him. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And so I would not be surprised if he got this written briefing and didn't read it. He too busy watching Fox News and tweeting. How do you have time to be on Twitter as the president and I don't have time as a journalist? How do you have time for that? You can't be reading this stuff. You can't be listening at your briefings. You can't be getting this information because you're not using it. We're going to talk about it on the other side of this break. I'm Solomon Jones. This is WRD. We'll be right back.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message. I'm asking for your support and to join our team. We need a leader to unite this country. We need a leader who will push an agenda to move everyone forward, to share in our country's great economic prosperity. Someone who will lead, but also who will listen. Someone we can be proud of. This election isn't about me. It's about you, your family, your community, and our country.
Paid for by Biden for president.
WordRadio.com.
At New City Commercial Capital, they are experienced mortgage professionals who desire to partner with you to get the financing that best suits your business needs. Their services extend to real estate agents, business owners, investors, and developers looking for the best-in-class loan products to power their commercial ventures. Call New City Commercial Capital today at 484-454-3592 or email them at info@newcitycc.com. Also visit them on the web at www.newcitycc.com. New City Commercial Capital, financing solutions for today's commercial customer.
Now, a word weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
A warm summer day and mainly dry today, and comfortable too with low humidity. We'll see a light northerly breeze keeping the moisture level low. 86 the high temperature. Some late day showers and thunderstorms, they'll be spotty today and then they clear out overnight tonight. 70 tomorrow morning, 84 the high tomorrow afternoon. We'll be dry in the morning, but tomorrow afternoon I do expect to see some showers and thunderstorms develop. They will die out Wednesday night, then Thursday a bit warmer after a morning low of 69, 88 degrees with partly to mostly sunny skies. Get the First Alert forecast anytime. Download the free NBC 10 app.
Now, a traffic update on Word Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Lowe's. 95 southbound. Betsy Ross through Girard now a bit slow this morning. Northbound side, no major problems. Westbound Vine, some delays Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Schuylkill Expressway eastbound from Montgomery through Spring Garden, a bit slow there. PA Turnpike, Blue Route 476. Not a bad ride this morning. In New Jersey, still an accident in New Jersey Turnpike southbound in the area of Interchange 2 for 322 off to the shoulder. It's been out there for a while. 55 northbound north of Deptford into 42, a bit of a slow ride. Lowe's is your home for the 4th, so before your refrigerator decides to check out and ruin your barbecue, upgrade to a new one. Lowe's has appliances up to 40% off, like an LG InstaView side-by-side refrigerator for just $1,299, valid through 7/8 U.S. only. For more traffic information, log on to SIGAlert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
You're waking up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on Word Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with Word. We are, of course, taking your calls at 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. We're talking about a number of things on this morning's show, including the Supreme Court ruling that came down yesterday, which stopped Louisiana from putting a rule in place that would have basically closed all of the abortion clinics in the state except for one. I want to know what you think about that. Story number two, members of Congress in both parties demanded answers on Monday about reported bounties paid by Russian operatives to Afghan insurgents for targeting American troops. They're talking about they wanted to know what the president knew and when he knew it. Well, the bottom line is he got a written briefing. The question is, did he read it? Story number two, the former Minneapolis police officer charged with killing George Floyd and the three other officers accused of aiding and abetting in his death appeared in court on Monday for a pretrial hearing. We'll see what happens with that. Of course, they have been charged with second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and aiding and abetting second and third-degree murder. Story number three, Chief Inspector Anthony Boyle, one of the highest-ranking officials in the Philadelphia Police Department, suspended money with intent to dismiss 2 years ago. He was accused of assaulting a black female captain during an arrest of a narcotic suspect, and he has also been accused of breaking the rules in the Narcotics Bureau. So we'll see what happens with that as well. I want to know what you think. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. I'm going to go back to the phone lines, and we're going to take your calls. Also going to take your comments on Facebook at Forward, F-O-R-W-U-R-D. That's F-O-R-W-U-R-D. Anthony from Delaware is on line one. Go ahead, Anthony.
I want to say this while it's fresh on my mind. Now, Judas sold his soul to the devil for silver, right? So
yes.
All these
well, he sold out Jesus for silver, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the thing. So all these evangelical preachers sold their soul to vote for Trump because he was going to give them the Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, right? And now they're not even getting that. Roberts went and sided with the liberals. So they sold their soul, their integrity, and these people are still up in the pulpit. You know, they sold their soul to Trump, and now they're not even getting what they really wanted, to overturn Roe v. Wade. You know?
That's interesting.
The Russia situation, it's disgusting, Solomon, that this man would do. Can you imagine what these Trump supporters must be thinking? I mean, are they in denial?
Yep,
I mean,
they are.
They must be hurting knowing that this man did this. And he still has to even acknowledge it. He's trying to say he didn't know. That's no excuse. Either you didn't know or you should have known. Either way, it don't make a difference. They must be like, what in the world? What kind of man is this? A monster? He's a monster. And this is who they supported. I mean, they must be, I don't know what's going through their minds, but it must be bad. I even feel bad. I feel sad to know that some of these soldiers could have got killed, a bounty from Russia, and he knew about it and did nothing, said nothing. It's really hurtful. Solomon.
Yeah, it is. It is hurtful, and I want to thank you for your call this morning on WRD. And here's the thing, Kwesa. These are the same people that run around talking about they love the troops so much. Oh, you remember the Colin Kaepernick? Oh, you disrespecting the troops. Oh, the troops. Why are you disrespecting the troops? It's the troops. You know what I mean? I sound like Jimmy Durante a little bit. But I'm saying, like, they keep talking about the troops. Okay, they killing our troops with bounties from the Russians. Like, we'll pay you how many American troops can you kill? We'll pay you a bounty for killing them. Now, you so concerned about the troops when Colin Kaepernick is doing a peaceful protest, kneeling down to protest racism against black people in this country, but you're not concerned about the troops when the Russians got bounties on their head, Kwesa.
Because they don't really care.
They don't care.
They don't care. The reason that they the reason they're mad at Kaepernick is not because he kneeled. It's because he's black and he kneeled. That's why they're mad. It had nothing to do with the fact that, you know, he was being patriotic. It had nothing to do with the fact that he was respecting the flag, you know, at the time he did it. It has nothing to do with the fact that a troop told him to do it. A vet told him to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's because of the fact of his skin color. And so when people are sitting there and they're like, oh, you know, I love the troops. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
You don't.
No, you don't. Black troops come home from World War II. You lynched them in their uniforms. You don't love the troops. Stop lying. You love whiteness. That's what you love. You know, and it's something that really needs to be talked about. It really needs to be exposed. How do you, as the president, know? You got a written briefing. You know that the Russians have bounties on the heads of your soldiers, and you did and said nothing. It's an outrage. I want to hear from you. 215-634-8065. Talk about you love the troops. Man, if you don't shut up, hugging the American flag, getting on stage, hugging the flag, and all of that nonsense. Meanwhile, the Russians got bounties on our troops. And you did and said nothing. I want to hear from you. 215-634-8065. Olanian from Nicetown is online too. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Jones. I made a slip this morning. I told the boy said that this is Olani from Nicetown. I mean from Norristown, and I meant to say Nicetown.
That's all right. We know where you're from. What's your comment, Olani?
I like to know, did you get the pictures or did you see them?
I did. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And what is your response, or what is the black community's response to the pictures that you see about abortion or against abortion, and they show baby faces? And I ask, is this genocide?
Yeah, I think, and I want to thank you for your call this morning on WURD. I think we all have to search our own selves, man. And we have to search our morality and where we are on that issue. But I would say this. A lot of people say that they are pro-life on the issue of abortion. But if you're pro-life, don't you care about what happens to the baby as the baby grows up? If you're pro-life, don't you care about what happens to the baby as they are subjected to systems of discrimination and oppression? If you're pro-life, don't you care about the whole life, or do you care about that child just when they're born? So in other words, are you just pro-birth or are you pro-life? Because if you're pro-life, then you care about the whole life, not just the birth. You follow me? And so, we talk about killing in one sense, but we won't talk about it in another sense. We talk about killing in the womb, but we won't talk about killing in the streets. We talk about killing in a hospital, but we won't talk about killing in police stations. I just think that we have to, if we are really pro-life, then we should be caring about the whole life and not just the birth. Is it just a slogan for you that you're pro-life, or do you really care about people's lives? That's my question. That really is my question. No, I do not favor abortion. But I think that we have to put it in context and stop, demonizing one group when you won't talk about all this other stuff that's happening. It's a classic case of seeing the speck of dust in somebody else's eye and not seeing the pole in your own. That's what I think. So, it is what it is. Let's go to Valerie from Philly on line 3. Go ahead, Valerie.
God bless everybody and good morning.
Good morning.
I just called to say about the soldiers. Now, it had to come from him. He had to sanctionize this, and he says he don't know nothing about it. So I want you to elaborate for me, to the people, about it. Thank you, and I love you guys.
Thank you, Valerie. We love you back. Trump got a written briefing in February. About the Russians putting a bounty on the heads of American troops. He knew, in other words, right? They gave him the briefing in writing and said, look, the Russians are putting bounties on American troops. And he did nothing about it. That's what happened. And so the question now is, what are we going to do about it as Americans? What are we going to do about it as a nation? because you got all of these people, and they're mostly conservative, and these are people who would support Donald Trump, running around talking about how much they love the troops, how much we need to support the troops, right? This dude got a written briefing saying that an enemy of America was putting bounties on the heads of American troops. He said nothing. He did nothing. So if he found that out in February and it's July, how many times has he tweeted since February? How many times has he stood before the American people at those coronavirus briefings since February? How many times has he spoken publicly since February? And in all of those times, hundreds, maybe thousands of times that he's tweeted, what did he say about this? Nothing. And so my question for those who are conservative and believe that we should support the troops, right? I believe we should support the troops too. I do. But why in the world would you, as the president, the commander-in-chief, you are the commander of our military, you find out that people in your charge have bounties on their heads from an enemy, and you say and do nothing? You got a written briefing about it. You say and do nothing. That's impeachable. You should be out right now. Like, no, you got to go now. You talked to Vladimir Putin on the phone and said and did nothing. Do you really love the troops? I want to hear from you. 215-634-8065. It's 215-634-8065. It's an outrage as far as I'm concerned. 215-634-8065. Juan from Kensington is on line one. Go ahead, Juan.
Hey, good morning, my brother and sister. How are you all this morning?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm real good. My first question is about Donald Trump is, first of all, he didn't even support the troops back when he was supposed to been in the draft days.
That's right. Correct? That's right. He's a draft dodger.
Support the troops then. What make you think he gonna support them now?
Yeah, good
because
point.
Unless the heart changes, the person is still the same. And the other thing I had a question about the Floyd incident. I was looking at the video, and the MTs didn't look too professional or whatever when they picked him up. I mean, are they going to have to testify also?
Who?
The MTs that picked up Floyd's body.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will because the reports say that there was no pulse. When they got there was no pulse.
Right. But the reason why I say that, they didn't look too professional or unless they was real nervous.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know? Yeah, it looked like they had on different kind of uniforms other than MT uniforms.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'm not sure. I looked at it several times. I couldn't tell.
We'll see. I'm sure it'll all come out in the testimony. And I want to thank you, Juan, for your call this morning on WURD. Let's go to Brother Mayo from South Philly on line 2. Go ahead, Brother Mayo.
Good morning, brother. How's everything, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Outstanding. Listen, Trump, I swear, man, he reminds me of this. I saw this phone commercial where they're having a meeting, and the one girl is, like, texting on the phone, and everybody can hear it and see her. Like, yo, what are you doing? Like, I swear he's the epitome of that movie, Clueless. He's like one of those. I think he's from that era, actually. Anyway. That guy gotta go. That's just another reason why we got to get him out of office. That Captain Boyle guy, he's been dirty for years. And I also agree with your last comment about the fact that, because I've talked to some people who are like pro-life. You know, it's like, no, you can't kill a baby. You can't kill. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
But then they'll wait till, the child becomes a teenager, because I've worked at the Juvenile Justice Center. They wait till a child becomes a teenager, commit a crime, and then say, we'll kill him. He got to die.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, wait a minute. What happened to your belief about, to me, life is life, man, from the, the tomb to the womb, from the womb to the tomb. These guys, man, with that hypocritic, they just upset me, man. You guys enjoy your day, okay?
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that, and I want to thank you so much for your call. My wife sent me a text message and said this: the irony of the pro-life movement's underlying message is that unborn lives matter, but these very same people cannot bring themselves to say that black lives matter. The pro-life movement, which is overwhelmingly white, does not see value in black lives. This makes their movement ring hollow with this inconsistent message. I mean, you know, I think that murder is wrong. I think that killing is wrong. But I think that we have demonized, you know, people in one segment while excusing people in another segment. It's wrong. Wrong is wrong. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, that whole hypocritical, I'm going to point at you so nobody can look at me type of stuff, I'm not, you know, it disgusts me. It does. And so, you know, we gotta, I think at some point just realize that, you know, if in fact life is important, then we have to protect the sanctity of life, no matter how old that life is. I'm Solomon Jones. This is WRD. We'll be right back.
Keystone First VIP Choice HMO SNP Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan has a 4 out of 5 star rating and is one of the highest rated Medicare plans in the region. Keystone First VIP Choice and you are better together. If you live in Philadelphia, Bucks, Chester, Montgomery, or Delaware County, and you have both Medicare and Medicaid, choose the Medicare plan that is working to help you get better care. Enjoy extra benefits at no cost to you with Keystone First VIP Choice. You get benefits like dental, vision, and transportation to and from your medical appointments. They also cover a fitness membership to a gym of your choice. $150 toward over-the-counter pharmacy items. There's no copay for doctor's visits. They offer a large provider network, a great prescription plan, dental coverage, and even eyeglasses. Plus, you don't have to wait for open enrollment. You can change your coverage every quarter. Keystone First VIP Choice. The name you trust, the service you deserve. Call Keystone First VIP Choice today at 1-877-686-1760 or visit KeystoneFirstVIPChoice.com.
Be heard. Want another way to join the conversation?
Follow us on social media
using the hashtag onWURD.
Be heard.
Stay connected to Word Radio.
Independent Black Media.
Now, a word weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
A warm summer day and mainly dry today and comfortable too with low humidity. We'll see a light northerly breeze keeping the moisture level low. 86 the high temperature. Some late day showers and thunderstorms. They'll be spotty today and then they clear out overnight tonight. 70 tomorrow morning. 84 the high tomorrow afternoon. We'll be dry in the morning, but tomorrow afternoon I do expect to see some showers and thunderstorms develop. They will die out Wednesday night. Then Thursday, a bit warmer after a morning low of 69, 88 degrees with partly to mostly sunny skies. Get the First Alert forecast anytime. Download the free NBC 10 app.
Now, a traffic update
on Word Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Lowe's. A couple of slow spots continue here in the Philadelphia area. Southbound 95, Betsy Ross down through Girard. A bit busy. Northbound side, no major problems. Schuylkill Expressway eastbound, Girard to Spring Garden. Delays westbound Vine, real late heading into the Schuylkill Expressway. Turnpike and the Blue Route look good. And New Jersey Turnpike southbound at interchange 2322. That earlier accident finally cleared. 55 north, some slowing north of Deptford into 42. Lowe's is your home for the 4th, so before your refrigerator decides to check out and ruin your barbecue, upgrade to a new one. Lowe's has appliances up to 40% off, like an LG InstaView side-by-side refrigerator, just $1,299, valid through 7/8, U.S. only. For more traffic information, log on to SIGAlert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on Word Radio.
96.1 FM.
And 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD. And I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with Word. Joining us now is Dr. Elena McDonald and Dr. Delana Wardlaw. They are board-certified physicians, and they're here to talk about the novel coronavirus, otherwise known as COVID-19. Good morning, doctors. How are you both?
Good morning, Solomon.
All right.
For having us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you. So I should mention they are also twins, and they join us every week to talk about what's going on with this virus. Now, Dr. Wardlaw, I'm going to start with you this week because yesterday I was talking to one of my listeners who I saw outside of the radio environment, and he was telling me that he doesn't believe that the coronavirus is real. He thinks that the masks are a scam, and he thinks that the whole thing comes from 5G. Dr. Wardlaw, is the novel coronavirus real?
The novel coronavirus is real. We have over 2.5 million cases globally. We have, in the United States, we have over 120 deaths, over 120,000 deaths in the United States from the coronavirus alone. And this has been over the last 4 to 5 months of tracking the data. So the coronavirus is real. It has no direct correlation with with the 5G towers.
Dr. Wardlaw, you sound a little bit muffled. You sound a little bit muffled. We want to straighten up your phone. We're going to go to Dr. McDonald. Dr. McDonald, your sister said that the virus is real. And so where does this virus come from?
So we know that the virus, this novel coronavirus, which is a new strain which came out at the end of 2019, started in Wuhan, China, and then it has crossed continents, which is why it's now called a pandemic and is worldwide. So this virus is definitely real. It is in the United States, and as Dr. Wardlaw said, it has affected 2.5 million people alone in the United States, and over 120,000 people have died thus far. This virus is very real, and it is spread by being in close contact and by droplets, meaning if you talk, if you yell, if you sneeze, if you cough, if you laugh, these droplets spread from your mouth or your nose into a person who's close to you's mouth, nose, or eyes. And once that virus enters your body, it can quickly cause several symptoms from cough, fever, loss of taste, loss of smell, rashes, extreme fatigue or tiredness, headaches, death. Again, we have seen in Pennsylvania, we have 85,000 cases in Pennsylvania. We've had 25,000 cases in Philadelphia and 1,500 deaths in Philadelphia. So this virus is very real. And no matter where you think it came from, there is no conspiracy theory. This virus has the potential to affect each and every one of us. No matter wherever you think it came from, my question to everyone is what are you doing individually to prevent the spread of this virus to your mother, your father, your grandparents, your children? What are you doing? Are you wearing your mask every day? Are you washing your hands? Are you trying to keep 6 feet between you and other people who don't live in your home? These are very real, and if we do not take these measures and if we keep walking around like it's not affecting us, then we very well will continue to see these dire consequences. And we already know that African Americans are being affected disproportionately anyway.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Wardlaw, how does this virus? So we know that this virus is real because 120,000 people have died from it. We have over 2 million confirmed cases in the United States. How does it affect your body? So Dr. McDonald said that it spread through droplets when you talk, when you laugh, when you shout. Those droplets come out of your mouth, and if they get into somebody else's mouth, nose, or eyes, then they are affected with the virus. Once this virus gets inside your body, how does it work? What does it do?
So once the coronavirus enters into your body, it causes a significant inflammatory response in the lungs. So the lungs work to allow us to breathe in oxygen. We carry oxygen to the other organs in our body so that those organs can function appropriately. When the body develops an inflammatory response, it causes a lot of fluid to build up in the lungs, and then it prevents the body from being able to allow the oxygen to get into the body, into the lungs, and to travel to the rest of the organs. If your organs can't get the oxygen, they can't work appropriately. So you have problems with the inflammation in the lungs, so you have a pneumonia that develops. You have a problem with not having oxygen get into your heart, so you can have a heart attack develop. We also know that the body develops, there have been blood clots that have developed, so people have been developing strokes. Young folks have been developing strokes. It's not just an old person's disease. Young persons have been developing strokes. We have seen a significant response once the body develops this massive inflammatory response, and then the oxygen can't get to the other organs, and it causes multiple systems to fail. Your kidneys begin to fail. Several patients have required dialysis. People, you hear about the ventilators. The ventilators are required when the lungs have lost their function so significantly that now you cannot breathe on your own, and you need a breathing machine to help you breathe. So it has significant effects on the body with this massive inflammatory response. It causes various organs to shut down: your lungs, your kidneys. It causes blood clots to form that leads to strokes, and it can lead to death if once these systems start to shut down in your body. So yes, coronavirus is here. Coronavirus is deadly, and we need to take note.
Mm-hmm. Now, the novel coronavirus, we call it novel. Novel just means new. That's what novel means. But this, Dr. McDonald, is just another version, a mutated version of a virus that's been here for a long time. We've always had versions of coronavirus, but this is a new one. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so go ahead.
So the reason why it's called novel, because as you just mentioned, is because it's new.
Mm-hmm.
Coronavirus has been around for years and years and years. As most people have already pointed out, well, if this is such a new virus, why do they have it listed on the Lysol key?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's been around for years. What happens is that viruses and bacteria have the capability of mutating or changing.
Okay.
And when they change their shape, then they can have a different effect on the body. So the coronavirus that has been out previous years really just caused cough, runny nose, maybe some low-grade fever. But this new version of the coronavirus that's been out in 2019 is causing all these symptoms, all these hospitalizations, all of these deaths. So a new version of a virus that's been around for years, but this new version is killing us.
Okay, so this is a new version of the virus. So what does COVID-19 mean?
Oh, so COVID-19.
Yeah, what does it stand for?
Okay, so COVID-19, it's coronavirus 19, because we have to be able to differentiate it from the other viruses that were available, that were associated with coronavirus. And because it came out in 2019, well, when we first began to hear some things about it, not necessarily in the United States, but in other countries, that's why it was abbreviated down to COVID-19, so that it would not be confused with the other coronaviruses that we've seen before.
Okay. So we've established that coronavirus is real. We've established how it attacks the body, what it does to the body, and why it's being called COVID-19, because it's just the version of coronavirus that came out in 2019.
Yes.
And so how do you treat coronavirus? Given that there is no cure for this virus, what are the treatments for coronavirus, and how do you establish how you treat it? I'm going to ask Dr. Wardlaw that question.
Okay, so one, I just want to be clear that we do not have a cure for coronavirus. So what we are treating are the symptoms that develop in the organ disruption that occurs. So it's what we call supportive care. So one, if somebody develops a pneumonia, we give you antibiotics for the pneumonia. Two, if somebody develops blood clots, we give you medicine to try to break up those blood clots. Three, if somebody develops renal failure or kidney failure, then they may require dialysis to treat the renal failure. So we are, you may hear of medications that are given. Sometimes steroids are given to treat the condition. We have to make sure that people are aware that when we are treating the complications that develop from coronavirus. We do not have a specific treatment for the virus itself. So we treat the pneumonia, we treat the blood clots, we treat the respiratory failure where people have to wind up on ventilators, we treat the renal disease, kidney disease where they wind up on, they may require dialysis. So we are treating the complications. I just need to be clear. We do not have a cure for coronavirus itself.
Okay. So you treat the symptoms, knowing that there is no cure yet.
There is no cure. Yes.
Okay.
Not yet.
All right. So Dr. McDonald, I want to ask you, as we move forward with trying to prevent people from getting the coronavirus, because one of the things that I heard from this listener, and I'm glad that I talked to him, because I heard all of the stuff that people are saying about this, but it needs to be addressed. He said that he believes the masks are a scam. What is the purpose of the masks, and what are they supposed to do to prevent the spread of this virus?
Okay, so for the purpose of the mask, as we know, this virus is spread through the droplets, moving through the air and getting going on to another person. So the masks are recommended so that you prevent those droplets from spreading in the air. That's the sole purpose of the mask. And the reason why we wear the mask, I wear my mask to prevent spreading the virus if I have it to someone else. You wear your mask to prevent spreading the virus if you have it to someone else. So we're all doing this together to help one another. So it's really not effective if everyone's not wearing their mask, which is what we're seeing a lot of. So, again, we see the spread of the droplets. The purpose of the mask is to prevent the spread of the droplets. And that's the other reason why we say stay 6 feet apart, because even if you for some reason your mask is off, which we want everyone to keep it on as much as possible, that distance will decrease the ability of the droplets to get onto another person. So that's the sole purpose of the mask, and we need everyone to wear their mask whenever they step out of their home. And can I follow it up, Solomon?
Yes, go ahead.
There's some misinformation out there that by wearing the mask, it's going to prevent you from breathing oxygen in, it's going to prevent you from getting the carbon dioxide out of your body. Not true. Not true at all, Solomon. The mask is to prevent droplet spread. It does not prevent the spread of air exchange, which is how oxygen gets in and carbon dioxide gets out. So that is another mixed message that is being spread around. The mask does not cause that problem at all. Some people are having concerns about wearing the mask in the heat. Medical personnel, they really don't have a choice of what mask they can wear. But for people who are wearing cloth masks, wear a lighter mask and wear a lighter fabric and wear a lighter color, and that'll make it more comfortable for you to be able to wear the mask. But the masks are absolutely necessary. Philadelphia just went back to a mandatory mask usage when you're outside of your home over the past weekend. So this is not a hoax, folks. This is not a conspiracy. We have to follow the recommendations. We were doing well. We got a little bit complacent, and this is why the health commissioner now is having some reservations about having us move from this abbreviated green phase to a full green phase, because we are seeing some relapse in the numbers.
All right, Dr. Wardlaw, Dr. McDonald, I want to thank you both for joining us this morning. Dr. McDonald, where can people find you and Dr. Wardlaw on social media?
You can find us at Twin Sister Docs on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
All right. I want to thank you both for joining us this morning on WURD.
Thank you, Solomon. Thank you. Have a good day.
All right. You too. That is Dr. Elena McDonald and Dr. Delana Wardlaw. They are twin sister doctors from North Philadelphia who are joining us weekly to break down what's happening with this virus. Wear your mask and save somebody's life. I'm Solomon Jones. This is WRD. We'll be right back.
If you want to start your morning with mindfulness, motivation, and inspiration, tune in to Daybreak with me, Helana, here on WURD Radio, Monday through Friday from 6 to 7 a.m. I'm a health and wellness coach with over 15 years experience helping people to transform their lives. On the show, we talk health and wellness 360, from getting your mind right to getting your money right. So let's rise and shine together right here on WURDradio.com, 96.1 FM, 900 on your AM dial on Daybreak every morning.
Family Therapy Vignette Moments with Dr. Lucille Ijoy.
Come on out and become a Word Radio member one by one.
Renew your membership or get a new one. Get serious information and have some fun. Call 215-425-7875. That's 215-425-7875. Come on out and become a Word Radio member one by one. Renew your membership or get a new one. Get serious information and have some fun.
Want the latest in Word swag?
Check out the shop tab on WordRadio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on WordRadio.com. Show the world that you're all about black.
Talk Media.
In Pennsylvania, everyone counts, and everyone needs to participate in the census. Our population count determines our voice in government and how much federal funding our communities receive for health care, food assistance, education, transportation, housing, and more. So every infant and child, every foreign and U.S. citizen, everyone matters. For a stronger future, we all need to count. To learn more, go to pa.gov/census.
Lifting every voice
Till earth and heaven ring.
This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
Black Talk Media.
Now, a Word weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
A warm summer day and mainly dry today and comfortable too with low humidity. We'll see a light northerly breeze keeping the moisture level low. 86 the high temperature. Some late day showers and thunderstorms. They'll be spotty today and then they clear out overnight tonight. 70 tomorrow morning. 84 the high tomorrow afternoon. We'll be dry in the morning, but tomorrow afternoon I do expect to see some showers and thunderstorms develop. They will die out Wednesday night. Then Thursday, a bit warmer after a morning low of 69, 88 degrees with partly to mostly sunny skies. Get the First Alert forecast anytime. Download the free NBC 10 app.
Now, a traffic update
on Word Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Lowe's. A couple of slow spots continue here in the Philadelphia area. Southbound 95, Betsy Ross down through Girard. A bit busy. Northbound side, no major problems. Schuylkill Expressway eastbound, Girard to Spring Garden. Delays westbound Vine, real light heading into the Schuylkill Expressway. Turnpike and the Blue Route look good. And New Jersey Turnpike southbound at interchange 2322. That earlier accident finally cleared. 55 north, some slowing north of Deptford into 42. Lowe's is your home for the 4th, so before your refrigerator decides to check out and ruin your barbecue, upgrade to a new one. Lowe's has appliances up to 40% off, like an LG InstaView side-by-side refrigerator, just $1,299, valid through 7/8, U.S. only. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Back by popular demand.
It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on Word Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD. We're joined now by Pennsylvania State Senator Anthony Hardy Williams. Good morning, Senator. How are you?
I'm healthy and safe so far.
Okay. Now, I understand you're going to be doing a racial equity solutions tour with other members of the Pennsylvania delegation, Democratic delegation. Tell us about that.
Yeah, thank you for teeing that up. So, for many of us, this issue in this moment, for many, they perceive this to be a moment of reconciliation and moving past racial inequality. And we have a couple of bills moving in Pennsylvania, data tracking and sensitivity trading. But for many of us who understand this is much more than a moment, it's a movement of generations there's a lot more to do from the governmental side as it relates to racial equality. Certainly, police accountability is a part of it, but frankly, economic inclusion, breaking through the barriers that has prevented African Americans who are of goodwill, who want to go to work or create their own businesses, preventing that. An educational system which is oppressive, segregated, and separated. The healthcare delivery system. There's a number of areas that we all know that African Americans are significantly, I don't mean minor league, but significantly, specifically because they're black, go behind. Well, in order to understand that, and we're in the Democratic Senate, there are varying views of what that means, what those solutions mean. And frankly, so we have to go on the road across Pennsylvania, have conversations followed by specific, measurable outcomes that lead to solutions with regard to how the government involves itself in reducing or actually eliminating separation of the races in terms of so many areas.
So Pennsylvania, if you're going across the state of Pennsylvania, once you leave outside of Philadelphia, there are Confederate flags. There are Confederate tattoos. There's a lot. There's a lot of racism in Pennsylvania. We have a significant amount of hate groups in Pennsylvania. When you leave Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, you are basically traveling to, in many parts of this state, the Deep South. And so where are you going with this tour, and what is it that you hope to accomplish in these places where they don't necessarily want to hear it?
Yeah, so you raise an excellent point. But we're going to go across all of Pennsylvania, regardless of one's views or limited views about human beings. What we found are a few things. That one, even in those areas that would be shocking to many people, Republican, white, not many black folks, they poll significantly on the other side of what it means to be a racist or not inclusive. So we have to have an honest conversation about that. But be very clear. The reason why we have institutionalized racism in this country and in Pennsylvania is not because they're the bigots. Frankly, they are outnumbered by those who do not take action. There are far too many places. Philadelphia, theoretically, is one of those places that should be a haven of equality. Why is the majority ethnic group in Philadelphia the poorest, the least healthy, have least options? Because frankly, many people who are in power are white, and many people who are hiring do not hire people of color, specifically black folks. Capital, access to capital. So many banks in Philadelphia do not lend to barbershops, hair salons, and a variety of things that we know we're expert and make money in. So for us, yes, we're going to go across Pennsylvania, and we expect to run into people who don't give two hoots about who you are or your humanity. That's fine. I don't really care, and we don't really care about changing that person. We have to draw attention to, if you're talking about racial equality, it's these mechanisms, these systems, these governments that are run by people who feel like they are good people, who will put a Black Lives Matter sign on their door to walk by their neighbor in the same process. And so we are going to claim their understanding of what is driving systemic institutionalized racism. It's not simply the fact that there's a bigot out there. It's the fact that there's so many people who are not African American who look beyond the fact that they have a responsibility and can change it by their own direct action.
Mm-hmm. Now, Senator, we have just gone through a period of protest in the city of Philadelphia and beyond, where you had protesters who confronted police who confronted protesters. Tear gas was used on I-76. There was an apology that was issued. A lot of those protesters were white. It was also used in West Philadelphia in a residential area on 52nd Street and beyond, where there was a lot of confusion. There was some looting. There was some just really serious protests there. And so what do you have to say about the use of tear gas in West Philadelphia, in the area that you represent?
Well, that's point to somebody like me talking about a racial equality tour. This is, the events that occurred with tear gassing should never occur, especially when it is literally 3 miles away from where the Move House was, the Move incident. And for those who don't remember it, government burned down a whole neighborhood literally with less than, 30 years ago. And so the images of a tank on 52nd Street were stark, not just to those young people out there, but somebody like me. I live in that neighborhood. I live on Cobb Street Parkway. I don't live far from where all that occurred. And I understand something. There were people who were looting and breaking into stores on 52nd Street and beyond. There was a little shopping center not far from where I live. They were there. But there was a significant number of people who didn't live in that community who chose to use that as a backdrop to some negative activity. But none of those people shot anybody. Those people physically assaulted anyone. Those people, they just destroyed property, and they had a responsibility to pay a consequence for that. But, I've seen first at a drunken college frat party where they destroyed a house and nobody, brought a tank up, let alone tear gas a community of innocent people who live in row houses. And so that was not just a mistake. That should have been and should be something that everybody should be investigating to figure out, well, how did we even get to that point that we think it's okay to do that? That's not just a statement about our police department. That's a statement about our attitude still as it relates to certain neighborhoods and communities in Philadelphia.
So when you see what happened on I-76, and obviously there's no stores or anything to break into on I-76, there are people kneeling on I-76 or blocking traffic on I-76. Tear gas is used there. West Philadelphia situation, a little bit different. People, doing some things that were illegal at the time. And so is there a difference in those two things and in those two uses of that tear gas? Is there a difference in your view?
Well, there were different actions occurring, but no, those were annoyances. Those were things that were inconvenient. And by the way, by definition, protest is going to be inconvenient. And so certainly on the highway, that was annoying. It was dangerous more to the people walking on a highway than frankly somebody in a car. If you think logically about it. Now, again, that was annoyance. I think from all I know, and I don't know the details, it was a moment of impulse driven by some of the protesters saying take over the highway. I had no understanding that they were planning to live there, that they were going to camp there overnight, that they were going to stay there for weeks. So it was an annoyance and a disruption. By the way, we have construction sites, which have shut down highways or sections of streets, and we detoured people. That's what should have happened that night. As it relates to Southwest Philadelphia, in terms of the people who were looting, that should have been applied with specific police instruction about, one, at least guard the stores. Try to prevent people from going in the store. And if need be, yes, arrest someone and fine them, and they go on their happy way to de-escalate the situation. But that language of what I've seen applied by police departments historically was not applied for whatever reason during both of those incidents, and they went to an elevated state of confrontation. And to be very clear, Tom, I am not indicting policemen. I'm indicting people who are giving instructions to policemen. There are black police officers who are conflicted in their souls. There are white police officers who were out there conflicted in their souls, but they're being required to take orders that frankly don't make a lot of sense when you measure the activity against the actions taken against the public.
What do you think should be done? I mean, given that the tear gas was used in West Philadelphia, in some residential areas. Now, certainly some people were engaged in some activity that was illegal. There were some people who weren't from that area, people who frankly don't look like us, who were inciting some of that. But people who lived in residential areas there, people in their houses had tear gas canisters on their porch.
Porches.
So like what should be done? You say they were taking orders. What do you think should be done as a result of what happened?
What normally happens is go to the videotape. 52nd Street is a business corridor that has a ton of business, has a lot of videotape. The neighbors have some videos because they have those doorbells that have video. So the first thing, and hopefully it's occurring, is there's a thorough investigation of those who are involved in activity that was negative on both sides. That means those who are looting, they have a responsibility to pay back places at a minimum. I don't know if they need to be locked up, but they have a responsibility to either return it or pay for it. The same as would happen in any other kind of event where you're at a concert, people get out of concept, get out of control, or they're at a bar, they fall out in the street, they tear up the property or anything like that. So that's a normal occurrence that happens, unfortunately, frequently in major cities. And what normally happens is the person pays the fine, they get caught, and you come and you pay your time. And so that's what should happen on that side. As far as the police department is concerned, there should be a top-down review. There's a new commissioner I'm getting to know her. I don't know her very well. She's an African female who I think has some understanding of what it means to be black in America, and a woman and a mother. That should require her to say what's going on with my department, and there should be a top-down review from the department, as well as, frankly, I would believe, hearings from city council and an independent entity that measures what happened, who did it, who gave instructions, who filed it, so that, one, if there is some level of accountability to be had, that means someone may lose their job. Frankly, somebody should lose their job. Or if there's just some punishment that says we need to retrain you, redirect you, give you the opportunity to understand that you were following orders that were given to you. But that really requires 3 levels of responsibility: police department, council, and an independent review to figure out who did what and why they did it, and change the culture of the department. That fundamentally has to happen. The department's culture has to change. You can't walk up in a neighborhood with a tank and think that's a normal event and treat it as if it's a normal event. And right now, my belief is people are saying, I'm sorry, but they're not working aggressively towards understanding what allows you to do that. The same as if you walked up to me, Solomon, on the street, punched me in the mouth and said, I just had a bad day. It's my normal behavior. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That doesn't count. You have to change you, not change me.
Well, the bottom line is that the decision was sanctioned by the mayor and the police commissioner. They decided that they would approve the use of tear gas. And so you said somebody should lose their job. I'm wondering how far up that should go in your view.
Well, I think that's what we would determine based upon the review of the facts.
Okay.
So, I think that, how do I do this the right way? Those who are in authority positions, how much information do they actually have when somebody came in and said, we're going to use tear gas? Mm-hmm. They know that they're going to use it against the crowd on the highway. They know they were going to use it against teenagers, kneeling on Southwest Philadelphia. Did they know that it was, broad effect or a targeted area? Those details are important in terms of the decision maker making a decision. And why do I know that? Because it happened in the move circumstances where the bomb was dropped, and frankly, many people who allowed it to occur, I don't think necessarily knew the magnitude of what was going to happen, and frankly, certainly know what was going to happen to those who lost their lives on that day.
We're talking with Senator Anthony Hardy Williams, and he's going to be doing a racial equity tour across the state, talking about what is happening with race in this city, in this state, in this country, and beyond. And that's going to be taking place in the coming days. When is that going to be taking place? How can people get more information on it?
Great question. So we're going to be rolling out the dates next week. There's 20, let me remind myself, 22 members of the Democratic Party. Of that, there are 4 regions, so out west, central, certainly Philadelphia area, one more, I think, up in the area where we will be going right now. It will have a composition of law enforcement, activists, intellectuals, civil rights groups, if you will, are all going to be part of the composition of panels that we have. It won't be one panel going across Pennsylvania. It'll be those indigenous to those communities who speak in those spaces. The dates will be rolled out next week, as well as the specific locations in which they occur. And of course, as always, we will come to you first, along with Black media, to make sure they know about when and how people can participate.
All right. State Senator Anthony Hardy Williams, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning on WURD.
You stay safe. I thank you and your wonderful producers.
Okay. You're welcome. Okay, so there you have it. I want to hear from you. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That's the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning show, 215-634-8065. Of course, we got a couple minutes, and so we will take your comments also from Facebook on onWURD. Kawesa, what are they saying this morning on Facebook?
We have a couple of comments here. Mary Melly Briggs says, Black people are envied. Me and a coworker were told that nearly 30 years ago by a white woman visiting her husband. So that was a comment that I saw here too. The other A couple of comments that I saw as well. I'm just trying to pull them up here. Anita Winters Green says, glad I tuned in to hear Twin Docs. Proud of them. Thanks for the information. Mike Jackson says, Donald Trump is evil, sinister, and diabolical. He is the kind of man who would tie a woman to a train track and say, I didn't do that, while his supporters chant, tie her up. And anybody who supports him are un-American. So that's another comment. Yvette Miles says, good morning, Word family. Queen Kuwaisa, not sure of the spelling of your name. Oh, you spelled it right. Please forgive me, but so proud of your brave heart. Supporting choice is hard for some people to hear, and abortion is a choice that should be supported. I agree with you. Thanks for that, Yvette. I appreciate it. And Natasha Nettles, that's how my sister feels. I tell her, man-made or not, it's here. Talking about the coronavirus. It's real, and people are definitely dying. I see it every day in this healthcare field. So those are a couple comments we have.
And as we talk about the use of force by police, not only here but nationally, journalist Sean Sullivan is going to join us on the other side of this break to talk about his findings in the New Jersey Force Report. You don't want to miss it. I'm Solomon Jones. This is WURD. We'll be right back.
Weather and traffic to keep you informed for your drive home in the happy hour with Sincerely Sarita, Monday through Thursday 4 till 7 p.m. right here on Word Radio 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Hi, this is City Councilman Kenyatta Johnson. We've been through a lot together in these past 3 months. Too many Philadelphians has lost their lives to COVID-19. Too many more has lost their livelihoods. As our stores and shops start to reopen, we have to protect our loved ones, friends, and neighbors to prevent any more spikes in this disease. Don't let your guard down, Philly. Practice social distancing when you go out, and always wear your mask. Mask up, Philly.
No fear, just facts. WURD.
Dietz & Watson has been making premium meats and artisan cheeses for over 80 years. And when it comes to stacking sandwiches and party platters, they've got something for everyone in the family, like maple honey turkey breast, American cheese, buffalo chicken, and more. So get to your local deli and taste 4 generations of family recipes. With Dietz & Watson on the table, you'll have everyone coming back for seconds and thirds. Dietz & Watson, it's a family thing since 1939.
Now, a word weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
A warm summer day and mainly dry today, and comfortable too with low humidity. We'll see a light northerly breeze keeping the moisture level low. 86 the high temperature. Some late day showers and thunderstorms, they'll be spotty today, and then they clear out overnight tonight. 70 tomorrow morning, 84 the high tomorrow afternoon. We'll be dry in the morning, but tomorrow afternoon I do expect to see some showers and thunderstorms develop. They will die out Wednesday night, then Thursday, a bit warmer after a morning low of 69, 88 degrees with partly to mostly sunny skies. Get the First Alert forecast anytime. Download the free NBC 10 app.
Now, a traffic update on Word Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Lowe's. Southbound 95, bridge down through Girard, a bit slow northbound side. Still no major problems. Westbound Vine Expressway, delays Ben Franklin Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Schuylkill eastbound, Montgomery through Spring Garden, a bit slow westbound. Not too bad. PA Turnpike, Blue Route 476, no major problems or delays there. 55 northbound, some delays still north of Deptford into 42. Lowe's is your home for the 4th, so before your refrigerator decides to check out and ruin your barbecue, upgrade to a new one. Lowe's has appliances up to 40% off, like an LG InstaView side-by-side refrigerator, just $1,299, valid through 7/8, U.S. only. For more traffic information, log on to SIGAlert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on Word Radio
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD. I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with Word. Joining us now is journalist Sean Sullivan. He is here to discuss his findings in the New Jersey Force Report. He assisted in data auditing and analysis and co-led the reporting effort. Sean, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Good. It's a pleasure. So we talk a lot about use of force throughout the United States, and we talk about it many times anecdotally because there is no national database that we've seen that really has recorded this up to the moment. But you looked at force in New Jersey, and you looked at it over the course of 5 years. What did you find?
We found a system that basically nobody was watching, and to call it a system, frankly, I think it's an overstatement. What we did was we went and collected the use of force reports from more than 500 individual police departments, ended up with more than 70,000 instances of force, and then we digitized those records and analyzed them for trends. And we found a lot of surprising stuff, including the fact that, a small minority of officers make up a disproportionate amount of the uses of force, and some pretty widespread racial disparities, no matter how you cut it. Black New Jerseyans in particular disproportionately faced use of force from police.
Yeah. And so you had to gather that data from 500 different departments and really catalog that data yourself, which points to a bigger issue in my view. What, in your view, does that indicate that you had to do that from a journalist side?
It indicates that the government was not doing what it should have done and what it intended to do when it created these forms in the first place. What we got were these use of force reports, which are these fairly simple forms that police officers are required to fill out anytime they use anything from a compliance hold to firing their weapon. And these were intended to be an oversight tool, but as we went and tried to collect them all, we quickly found that many departments were just filing them away in filing cabinets. In one town, they were actually quarantined for mold, and we were not able to get them because they had been in a storage unit that was infected with mold. And so county prosecutors, who are supposed to be, police chiefs are the first line of defense in monitoring the use of force. Sometimes we heard that they looked at that stuff. County prosecutors are supposed to be the kind of stopgap. Most county prosecutors only got summaries of these reports. And the Attorney General's office, which initially required them, was basically not looking at them at all. So after our report published, state authorities actually purchased the data from us, and they're in the process of building their own. But that process has been kind of slow going. We're still waiting to see the results of that.
And as far as the trends that you found, and you looked at over 500 police departments, I'm curious about the racial data that you talked about. Was it consistent across these departments?
No, and you saw a disparity kind of in weird pockets of the state. You would expect to see some of the departments that have sort of troubled histories, whether it's the state police or Newark, which is under federal monitoring, or Camden or something like that. But some of the places where you saw the starkest racial disparities in use of force were the state suburbs. Maplewood, New Jersey, which is a wealthy Essex County suburb, had the highest racial disparity in police use of force. And you can't draw clear conclusions there based on the data, but what we heard as we were reporting it out is that people of color who live around the Maplewood area feel like they are disproportionately targeted if they are in Maplewood because the police see them as outsiders.
And so when you saw that compared to other areas, what areas did well in terms of disparities?
There were more than 100 police departments where there wasn't a black-white disparity. So there were pockets of the state where that wasn't as pronounced, but mostly that's because of demographics for those populations. Overall, across New Jersey, a black resident was 3 times as likely to be subject to police force during an arrest than a white New Jerseyan, and even controlling for the fact that communities of color are disproportionately policed. If you just look at people who were arrested and compare black to white, there was still a disparity. It was less pronounced, but a black arrestee was still more likely to face force than a white one, even though, according to the analysis, white arrestees were more likely to resist arrest.
So when you look at the areas where there wasn't this disparity, is it because black people didn't live there? There were no black people there?
More or less. I mean, it's hard to summarize like 100 different municipalities where that happens, but mostly it comes down to the fact that that those police just interact with black people a lot less.
And so when you look at the state overall and you find that black people are 3 times as likely as white people to face use of force by police, when state authorities saw that information, what was their response?
It was varied, but the Attorney General, who is the state's top law enforcement officer, was pretty conciliatory when we presented him with our findings. He said that first of all, there was you guys shouldn't have been the ones to have to do this. We should have been doing it, and we're going to do it. And then we also participated in a series of hearings all over the state that was organized by Salvation and Social Justice, a black clergy group in the state, and the response from them was, you have given us the data that shows our lived experience. Like it wasn't news to any of those folks, but but what we were able to do is give their complaints I guess empirical heft to the powers that be, because you can't explain, like you said earlier, we have always heard the anecdotes. The data just shores that up.
So now that state authorities have purchased this data that your news organization put together, what have they said they plan to do with it, and what is the timeline?
So they are in the process of revamping the entire reporting process. What we had to do was go out and collect these paper records, and sometimes they were handwritten and hard to read and stuff like that. And so the state is creating an online portal where police departments will log directly to them their uses of force. And so sometime in the next few months, they expect to create a public-facing database where folks can look up the same way. If you go to force.aj.com, you can look up our tool, which includes 5 years of data. They want to have a similar service going forward to allow the same level of oversight. In the meantime, the AG's office has looked into several of the departments that we flagged in our report, and the findings also led to at least one arrest of an officer in Millville who actually had the highest use of force rate of any police officer in New Jersey.
That was going to be my next question. What is happening to these officers? Because you said earlier that a relatively few officers made up the bulk of use of force incidents, and so there's been one arrest. What's happening to the rest of these people?
So it's very difficult just from the data to determine wrongful force. We made a distinction here that this is not a database of police misconduct. It's a database of police conduct, and it's up to law enforcement investigators to determine the circumstances of that. And so we had one case where a serious outlier was investigated by authorities, and they found that he actually assaulted two women during arrest to a degree that was criminal. That is a rare case of authorities stepping in and taking a look at somebody's entire career and use of force record and making determinations in specific cases that behavior was criminal. I'm sure a lot of the other ones were addressed through training or internal discipline, but unfortunately, because of the way that internal affairs records are kept in New Jersey, we don't have access to that information unless people leak it to us. So I couldn't tell you overall what the highest uses of force rate officers, what they experienced on the other end because of the secrecy in New Jersey.
Okay, we are talking with Sean Sullivan. He
assisted in data auditing and analysis and co-led the reporting effort for the New Jersey Force Report, which has come out, and it looks at 5 years worth of use of force data from departments across the state of New Jersey. Has the Attorney General indicated that he will be investigating, independent of these police departments, these uses of force that you've outlined in this report?
Yeah, so his office has been undergoing a review for a long time. They have an office at the Attorney General's office called the Office of Public Integrity and Accountability, and they are the ones that actually collected the data from us, and they are the ones that charged the officer I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
There. So they are also in the process right now of stepping up with a pilot program in several towns, including the town Millville, where that officer came from, to I think it's between 5 and 10 towns, and they are currently doing a pilot program to audit use of force, and then that will eventually, once they, I guess, work out the kinks, will be spread to every police department in the state.
Okay. What is the biggest overall takeaway from this force report that jumped out at you?
You know, this is it's a difficult issue to suss out because you know, what police experts told us is that force, even when used appropriate, sometimes can be very ugly, and so you know this is not a determination of, you know, where force was excessive and where force was necessary, but if you just look at the sheer numbers, the racial imbalance is you just can't explain it away. Even if you take some of the more kind of troubling arguments that explain why people of color are you know, disproportionately subject to police violence, you know, the fact that they get arrested more often, you know, we know that is because those communities are disproportionately policed. But even taking that off the table and just looking at, okay, you know, people who were arrested, white to black folks face force at a higher rate, and you know, these forms included a field for you know, what steps the suspect took to resist force, and the white arrestees were more likely to have been reported resisting arrest, and yet the only type of force that they were subject to more was compliance holds, which is the lowest level of force. Black folks were subject to every escalating type of force going forward.
Sean Sullivan, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning on WURD. Where can people find the New Jersey Force Report?
You can find it at force.nj.com.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, you're welcome. So we want to hear from you. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning show, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. You heard Sean Sullivan. You can't explain away the racial disparities that they found in looking at the use of force over 5 years in 500 departments across the state of New Jersey. The bottom line is that while white people were more likely to resist arrest, according to the data, black people were more likely to face force, and not just the minimal amount of force, but escalating amounts of force. And that is indicative of what we've talked about. And he said it. He said that when they talked to these various black groups that engaged in these forums with them around this issue, that the black groups were like, man, you've laid out our lived experience. You've laid out what we have gone through. And I think that that's part of what's needed, Kwesa. In order to get justice, you have to lay out the data. And even though you don't want to believe it, and that's fine. Here's the data. Here's the information. You can deny it, but here it is right in front of you. I think that has to happen in order for justice to come about. And the troubling thing is that the government isn't doing it. Journalists have to.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they were able to really kind of expose something that a lot of New Jerseyans and a lot of black folks really have known for years, decades, generations. Like we knew that this was the case, but no one wants to believe us when we're trying to, have our voices be heard. And so, when you do that, just like you said, when we have that data that's right in front of us, then we can say, no, here's the stats. This is really what's going on. And it is a shame that you have to have, independent folks, journalists, putting this information forward. And it makes me feel like, our state, my state, but New Jersey, and really the country as a whole, don't really care about exposing some of these, these dirty truths, So I'm glad that they were able to do that, and I'm glad to see that there's going to be some type of reform. I want it to be better in New Jersey, because as a New Jerseyan, I'm like, I get nervous when I pass by, cop cars sitting there. I'm like, are they gonna pull me over? And I know I didn't do anything, but I'm always like, oh, are they gonna get me? So I'm glad they did that work.
I'm glad they did it too. And again, you can check that work out online. It is available. All you have to do is go to force.nj.com. On the other side of this break, we're gonna do what's trending right here on WURD.
Pico has many ways to help you lower your energy usage and save money at home. Here's one. Have an old working fridge or freezer in your garage or basement? Pico will pick it up, dispose of it responsibly, and give you a $75 rebate. That's right, $75. Plus, you can save as much as $150 a year on your energy bill by getting rid of it. Just schedule your pickup at pico.com/recycling or call 1-888-5-PICO-SAVE today. Be sure your fridge or freezer is plugged in and working at time of pickup.
Support independent black media and join the Forward movement now at 215-425-7875 or visit wordradio.com.
Listen to Laborers Live. We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour workday, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
We are progressive and proud and interactive. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at onWURD. This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Streaming live at wordradio.com. You're waking up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on Word Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
They're golden. Hulu viewers, Hollywood still love.
All circuits are busy. Here's what's trending.
Yo, that's crazy.
On Wake Up with Word.
Trying to grab it up here. Sorry about that. As his future with the NFL remains in limbo, Colin Kaepernick is tackling a project off the field with Ava DuVernay. The athlete and activist has teamed up with the Oscar-nominated filmmaker for a new Netflix limited series, Colin in Black and White, which traces the origin story of one of the most influential figures in modern U.S. sports history.
And a Hampton Inn employee has been fired after calling the police on a black family using the hotel swimming pool in Williamston, North Carolina. In a Facebook video shared across social media, a white hotel employee and two cops approached Anita Williams Wright and asked her to prove that she's staying at the hotel. "I feel it's discrimination," the woman said in the video. "I have a room here. I don't have to give my name. I did not break the law."
And as part of Hollywood's efforts to take past TV episodes with racist references out of circulation, Hulu will no longer stream a 1988 episode of The Golden Girls in which two characters allude to blackface. And that is what's trending.
All right, that's what's trending right here at WURD Radio. We want to hear from you. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That's the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. I feel bad for this woman who used the pool with her kids, and I have seen, white folks kind of recoil when black folks get in these little hotel pools. A lot of times the pool is just like a little pool. It's like a four foot pool. And I watch them. I watch when my kids get in the pool because I don't want my kids discriminated against. I don't want anybody saying anything to them. I don't want anybody, like, I'm watching. I'm there, right? And the kids, they're oblivious. They're kids, but I'm watching because I know that when you go to these places and you have people who actually believe that they are better than you, people who actually believe that you should not be in a pool with them, people who actually are still living in the 1950s. And so I'm watching my kids. You know what I'm saying? This woman is in the pool with her kids, and she probably the same, as me. Like, I'm not going to let my kids get in this pool by themselves. I don't want them discriminated against. I don't want anything happening to them. I'm going to watch my kids. So she gets in the pool with her kids at the Hampton Inn, and an employee calls the police. Prove that you're staying at this hotel, right? First of all, she should have never called the police in the first place, right? But after you call the police and the woman shows her key, leave the woman alone. And she's there with her kids. Now, imagine these kids, they're looking at these cops like, why are these police officers approaching us and our mother? They're probably scared to death. That's the kind of stuff that happens to us in everyday activities. Barbecuing at the beach. You know what I mean? Here come, Karen, call the cops. Sleeping in a dorm at a school where you're going to. Here come Karen calling the cops. Going in a pool at a hotel where you have paid to stay. Here come Karen calling the cops. Like, at some point, we have to realize that we are living in a society where people feel like they have to police us because we are black. We are living in a society where we are treated differently in normal, everyday situations because we are black. You can't even get in the pool with your kids. You done paid to stay at the hotel. You in the pool with your kid. You trying to relax. You understand what I'm saying? And here come an employee, somebody whose salary you are paying because you've paid to stay at this hotel, and they calling the cops on you. I want to know what you think. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That's the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning show, of course. Also talking about Colin Kaepernick. He's tackling a project off the field with Ava DuVernay. He's teamed up with Ava DuVernay on a Netflix series, Colin in Black and White. Traces the origin story of Colin Kaepernick, who, of course, began kneeling to protest police brutality and has been blackballed from the NFL as a result. I want to know what you think. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call. Let's go to Ed from Willingboro on line 1. Go ahead, Ed.
Hey, yeah, look, I want to make that statement. But first of all, let me ask you, do you know anything about Moe's arrangements?
No. Unfortunately, I don't.
Okay, you don't have that yet?
No.
Okay, could you keep me informed?
When we find out, if we find out, of course, the family deserves their privacy, but if we find out, we'll share it.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Look, you're right. Surprisingly, I don't know why black people don't understand this, with police and brutality, going back to the slave catchers and just what it meant, Either they can catch you and bring you back dead or alive, or, you know, up to this day, it's just hatred. It's because we are black people. Yeah, you know. And, you know, even on our jobs every day, we got to understand that white really don't like or, you know, like black people, really don't care about black children. I mean, you know, we really got to wake up now. We have to live with these folks every day and go to work and go to school. But, you know, there's really, you know, I remember one time you said you had white friends, and I told you, no, you have white.
Don't tell me what I have, man. Don't tell me what I have. Don't tell me whether, because I got white people. I'm gonna be honest with you, and this is what keeps me sane, right? There are white people who have helped me in my life and career more than members of my family. You understand? So don't tell me whether or not I have white friends, white associates, white, you know. There are white people that I know, and I'm going to be honest with you, who I trusted to watch my kids when I did not trust other folks who look like me to watch my kids, because that's the kind of relationship long-term that we've had over decades. So you can't tell me what I have and what I don't.
Yeah, but, you know, really, I'm doing this favor for this black person. They really see you.
You don't know them. You can't say that. You can't say that. You don't know them. You can't say that.
Solomon, come on.
No, you come on, because you cannot say, you cannot portray the character of somebody that you don't know. How can you do that? Explain that to me. Are you God?
But you look at 400 years of this. There's privilege. There's that supremacy which we don't like to use. You got to wake up. As a whole, these folks don't like you. And
don't tell me. You know what I'm saying? You know, one of the things that I think keeps me sane is I have to talk about this stuff, research this stuff, write about this stuff every day. One of the things that keeps me sane is knowing that everybody is an individual. Certainly there are systems, there are people who benefit from these systems. Certainly racism is a real thing. But in terms of judging everybody based on our analysis of this entire system, judging every individual person based on that, you can't do that. You can't do that. You don't know every individual person. You don't know why they are doing the things that they are doing. You don't know the nature of their heart. You don't know these people. So how can you tell me about somebody that I've known for 25, 30 years? How can you tell me their character? That's ridiculous. And when we do that, when we engage in that, right, we are no better than the people who discriminate against us. I got to be honest. That's where I'm at. And if you don't like it, you don't want to listen, do what you got to do. But I am not going to judge every individual with a broad brush. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because I know better. And, you know, maybe that's God, you know, saying, okay, Solomon, I'm going to put this person in your life so that you know that everybody is not like that. I'm going to put this person in your life so that you have some perspective. I'm going to put this person in your life so that you are not filled with hate, so that when you have to talk about these things every day, when you have to look at these systems, when you have to understand white supremacy and racism, that you know that everybody is not like that, that there is some hope for something better, that you cannot judge the heart. That's my job as God, right? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, don't tell me about people that I know when you don't know them. That's ridiculous. I'm going to go back to the phone lines. 215-634-8065. That's 215-634-8065. Lulu from Mayfair is online too. Go ahead, Lulu.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
I just wanted to say it's our time, and this is the day that the Lord has made, and I am so grateful to be able to speak to you and all our listeners out here.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that I have Caucasians in my family, and I was raised with Italian. And I had a white pastor. I can't say who's evil or not evil. There's good, bad, and ugly in all groups. Don't forget who helped us through the Underground Railroad. And if you do your history, God has always had people who are righteous and good, just like we are, you know. But I understand what you're saying. I had an experience when I was busting going to South Philadelphia. Back in the day, you could pull the trolley windows up, and this truck would pass with this man. I was just a kid, like 13, going home, and he took and hog spit and went all over the trolley and the next person ahead of me. my parents was at work. I don't even think I told them. And I might have told this story maybe 6 times in my life. I know that there are good and righteousness in any person. That's the way God made it, okay? But getting back on focus, we have to look at this where we say it's systemic. I was just looking up the first black police officer in 1911 in New York. And some of this stuff comes from our own people because we were taught to hate each other from the plantation. We have to give up that plantation mentality. But you know, we can't just blame a particular race. There's a lot of people that's on your side and a lot of them that's evil. And I'm not going to reiterate anymore. Just be blessed, and it's our time.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate your call this morning on WURD. Tim from Springfield is on line 1. Go ahead, Tim.
Solomon, thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome.
And I just wanted to thank you. I'm white, and I try to judge everyone by the content of their character and not the color of their skin. I tell this story. I'm almost 70 years old. I grew up in York, Pennsylvania, and I've called you before. When I found this out about my father, we went up to a place called Pine Grove Furnace, which is near Harrisburg, nice state park, Laurel Lake. And my best friend was what you would consider half, white and black. And he was my best friend. And my father allowed each of the 3 kids to take their best friend to the lake and to the state park. And my mother told me this story before she died, and I never knew this about my father. A guy came over while we were up at the lake, and he said to my father, "Get the N out of here." And my father said, "That young man is my son's best friend, and he has just as much right to stay here." And I remember the integrity that I lived with, and I never knew that. But what I hear from you is I hear integrity. And that's what's going to come out with all this stuff, is we're going to see who people are that have integrity. And we're going to see people who don't have it. And color of skin has absolutely nothing to do with what the inside, what you're made out of.
Tim, I want to thank you so much for sharing that story this morning on WURD. We appreciate it. Do we have time to take one more? Okay, we're going to go to break. On the other side, we're going to talk with Roxanne Jones. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
Check out the Source lineup on Word Radio. Mondays, get ready for the rapping professor, Dr. Aaron Smith. On Tuesdays, it's Andrea Lawful Sanders. Then on Wednesdays, it's the Black Women's Leadership Council. On Thursdays, it's a second helping of Andrea Lawful Sanders. And on Fridays, it's Tiffany Bacon. Don't miss the Source. Monday through Thursday, 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. and Fridays, 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. Exclusively on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on wordradio.com and on the Word Radio app.
Seniors, does your doctor regularly reach out to check on you? Can you walk into your doctor's office and see them if you need to? Do you have your doctor's cell phone number and can you call them anytime, day or night? At Dedicated Senior Medical Center, their only specialty is caring for seniors. Dedicated makes it easy to get the primary care you deserve. Doctors spend more time with patients than the doctors you may be used to. They offer telehealth visits, help you get your medications, and even make sure you get to your appointments. If your doctor isn't treating you like family, it's time to say yes to Dedicated Senior Medical Center. Call Dedicated Senior Medical Center today to schedule a visit and find out what you're missing. Call 267-443-1900. That's 267-443-1900. Appointments are available now.
Small independent businesses throughout Philadelphia need your help. The Merchants Fund provides direct grant support to businesses most in need. Together we can rebuild a better, stronger city that works for all of us. To join us, visit merchantsfund.org to make your tax-deductible donation.
This is not a fad for us. We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are undeniably, indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media. WURD. Now, with more clarity, This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Streaming live at wordradio.com. Back by popular demand. It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
This is a continuation of the mistreatment of black women in the United States. When I think of Black Lives Matter, I'm not just thinking of police brutality. I'm thinking about a whole law enforcement system screaming for reform. You can't tell me he didn't know something, and even if he didn't, he should have.
And now, Roxanne Jones, live on Wake Up with Word.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM and 96.1 FM WURD, and I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with Word. Joining us now is Roxanne Jones. She's a former VP at ESPN, CNN opinion writer, Emmy-nominated producer, co-author of Say It Loud, an illustrated history of the black athlete, and CEO of the Push Marketing Group, a media strategy firm. Roxanne, good morning.
Good morning, Solomon. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Great show today.
Thank you.
You're doing a good job holding your own there. I like that.
I gotta do what I gotta do. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? So in terms of Colin Kaepernick, we didn't talk about this, but Colin Kaepernick, it looks like Ava DuVernay is going to be doing a documentary on Colin Kaepernick, Colin in black and white. What do you think?
I think it's great. And you know what's been interesting, kind of watching Ava, I'm connected to her through people in New York, and then just knowing the Kaepernick story. I think that these protests, where we are now, all the protests and the uprising that we're seeing has really flipped a switch in Ava. Absolutely. She got the idea. I was following her on Twitter and listening to some of the stuff she was saying. She was one of the first people, Hollywood people, to say, I'm going to pause right here. Every other project that I was thinking about doing, I'm paying attention to these protests, and from now on, almost her entire career, she was saying, is going to be dedicated to amplifying the voices of these protesters. And she was, I got some projects coming up special, but just in the moment created a path that was not there for her. And so I was not surprised when, she's doing Colin, she's doing some other projects. But I think that is the beauty of when we lift our voices, we find out we're not alone and that we absolutely have more power than we ever thought we could. And isn't that, why not do a documentary with Colin Kaepernick? I think the two of them together is strong. And I really, really like that. And speaking of what you were just speaking about, white people in our lives, Colin is biracial.
Yep.
So he changed the world, certainly changed sports, getting on his knee, coming from a white parent and a black parent. So we can't, and so did President Obama.
That's right.
So we can talk about hate all we want, and I agree in general, absolutely, with systemic racism and oppression and all of that. I certainly am not in denial because I have loved some white people and they loved me back. But we cannot erase their contributions and some of the people that they've created that have certainly pushed us all forward together. So I'm looking forward to that project with Colin. I'm glad that they're doing it. I'm glad that Ava's doing it. I wouldn't be so happy if it was just some white Hollywood producer.
Steven Spielberg.
We don't know what they would do. Exactly. They have some little white boy playing Kaepernick.
God,
No.
Lord have mercy.
They would.
They would do it. They tried to do it with Michael Jackson.
They would do it. Exactly. That was an outrage. That was, what?
Lord have mercy.
So thank goodness Ava, people like her are there. And Hollywood itself, I think, I'm talking about Black Hollywood, has had an awakening. They're going through it on their own. which helps all of us.
I think it
They've
absolutely
been pushed
does.
along. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and speaking of black quarterbacks, so you got Colin Kaepernick, who's been blackballed from the league, but then you have Cam Newton, who's almost been blackballed from the league. It seems he's going to be playing for the Patriots with a minimum deal. Even though he's a former MVP, the deal has incentives that could pay him around $7.5 million. But other players, including Richard Sherman, say Newton should be paid much more. Does race play a role in this?
Absolutely. It's Robert Kraft. First of all, it's Robert Kraft. He's a Make America, again guy. And what I think, we have to remember in the NFL, you can incentivize all you want. Those incentives are junk. Nothing's guaranteed. And I don't know if Cam got bad representation, if he thought he couldn't play anyplace else, but I'm quite sure. Now, I know New England. That was where we went after we left Philly. And it is very racist. And in sports, it's racist. And the Patriots, that's almost like no black people like the Patriots. Yeah, I'm throwing a blanket statement, but it's like the Red Sox.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that one of the reasons why they were refusing to pay him so much, and what they said was, look, we don't know how he's going to sell in this market. He's stepping in after the Great White Hope, and now we got this guy with dreads sticking out of his head. We don't even know how he's going to play. And so I think from a marketing perspective, from a we're not sure you're a good fit, that racist trope that almost every person says when they're interviewing black people and they're threatened. We're not sure he'll be a good fit with us here. And so I think that's why he's been undervalued, and his representation allowed that to happen. Now, I haven't looked at his deal. I haven't spoken to his agent or him to ask, why, if everybody in the league, including Richard Sherman, the people who are your peers, feel like you've been lowballed. What made you take this deal? And I'm sure it always has to do with what other deals were out there. And, how many other opportunities he had, how good his representation was. Maybe he's just, he's always been different, so maybe he's got a plan and he thinks okay, this is what I want to do. But I always feel bad for those guys when they have these incentives because he's already proven himself. What's he got to prove?
Yeah. Now, he's had a lot of injuries, but he completed a high percentage of his passes last year, and it seems like only one other team talked to him, and that was the Cleveland Browns. So I'm wondering, why was nobody talking to him when he completed such a high percentage of his passes last year, even though he was dealing with an injury?
I'm telling you, he's a black quarterback. He's a black quarterback.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because, and I'm sure New England is thinking this is just a stopgap because I know that they're afraid. I know that they're like, oh, we don't know if these fans, we're going to lose fans, we're going to lose corporate seat. They used to Tom Brady. Even the people who were kind of like, he's old, let's get rid of him, they weren't asking for Cam. You know what I mean? It's not like fans had a let's get Cam contest going. So it will be interesting to see how they support him, right? How they introduce him to the community of fans in New England and how much they market him. Because a lot of their success, especially for quarterbacks, they have the quarterback club, which is a very small elite, the most elite club in the league. It's called the Quarterback Club, and it's all the quarterbacks, old and present. But that's where the big money comes from, the marketing deals, the speeches, all of your support, and everybody, that's where the most power is. And so we'll see how Cam is treated.
Yeah,
injury or no injury, because that little raggedy quarterback club is upheld every little broken down quarterback there is. Has nothing to do with injuries or how many passes you complete or, nothing. So
it's
we'll
race.
see.
It's race.
It's always race. It's certainly in the NFL, it's race.
Yeah, and at the Patriots. Now, the Patriots, interesting environment because my understanding about the Patriots is that the culture is so tense and so tight that the players don't even enjoy being there. That it's, it's this place where it's not a game anymore. It's not fun anymore. It's, it's just this toxic environment.
Well, you know who says that? The black players who go there say that. Randy Moss said that. It's not, that's who says it. And so what it is, because that's how New England is, right? New England is it's a frosty, cold place to begin with. And then under Tom Brady, who really had no personality. I mean, he's got vanilla is his personality, but he's not like a hug 'em up kind of guy. But culturally, the team has always been split, and so it's easy to be split and say it's because you come to win and you're focused on winning when you're winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. But when you don't have that, when you're not the best team in the league anymore, when you don't have a person that you can, an icon like Tom Brady, or you could say we're here for business only and it's for Tom. They don't have that anymore, so they're going to have to figure out what the culture is now. And generally, that's supposed to be the quarterback that gels the team, unless you have somebody really strong like Malcolm Jenkins or somebody like that, somebody else who comes along. But it's generally the chemistry of the team is left up to the quarterback. Certainly on offense, is left up to the quarterback, and so. It's just going to be interesting to see how Cam comes in. Maybe he's got some connections on that team amongst his teammates. I'm sure he has to be good with some people on the team because they wouldn't have brought him in. They just couldn't have brought him in if he was going to upset the chemistry So he's got something going on there that we're not seeing, that I'm not seeing from where I am. And we'll have to see how that plays out for him. But I wish him luck. It's not going to be easy for him psychologically.
Well, speaking of psychology, let's talk about somebody who needs a little bit of psychological help. So your president apparently was like deferential to President Vladimir Putin, refusing to confront him about reports that Russia put out bounties on American troops in Afghanistan. There's a report that he had a written briefing on that in February, never said anything about it. And at the same time, he was abusive to allies, especially women, including Angela Merkel of Germany and Theresa May of Great Britain. What do you make of it, Roxanne?
Well, he's a classic punk bully. Classic. He never confronts people that he feels threatened by. Never. And we've always known, he's just carried on in the White House without us really having any information about who he is, where his money is, what Russia has on him. Never saw the dossier because that was all the spies were crooked and we can't trust what they said. But clearly, Russia, he's afraid of Russia. He's definitely afraid of Putin. Yeah. Afraid, and since we know he only cares about himself, he's not afraid that Russia is going to throw some bombs on the U.S. He's afraid because Russia can do something to hurt him. And I'm very clear about that. Every journalist who's ever, investigated him is very clear about that. And just because we don't know exactly what it is, at least I don't, mean it's not there. You can tell from his behavior. And so I'm not surprised by his classic bully behavior, that he cowers down to anybody who's a real threat, that he's afraid. He's a punk. The guy's a punk. I don't care if he's a POTUS, he's a punk. And so nothing he does really surprises me. And again, that's why it's really important that this election, unless we want to be further guided for 4 more years by this bully who's doing real damage to the structure, the infrastructure of this country, unless we want to keep closing a blind eye and be entertained by him or disgusted by him for entertainment, then we have to get him out of the White House. And I'm sure Russia, China, everybody else is laughing. Shoot, the people in Costa Rica are laughing. Nobody in the world can figure out how we let this man be elected president. Now, they don't understand about the Electoral College and all that stuff, but they just don't. They're like, this is you're a laughing stock. And it's not even funny. It's sad, but it's also like, how in the world can this happen in the United States of America?
Yeah, it's crazy to watch. And it's not just his behavior with Putin. It's also the president of Turkey, President Erdogan, who apparently he talked to over and over and over again before just letting Turkey, and people forget this, letting Turkey just go and basically commit genocide against people who had allied with the United States in Syria. And so, just really acting in his own interest rather than the interest of the country. And the thing that really gets me, Roxanne, is here's a guy who, when Colin Kaepernick knelt down, it was like, respect the troops, respect the troops. Oh, you're disrespecting the troops. This guy knew that Russia was putting bounties on our troops and did nothing.
I know. You know what? It's not even funny. This is why and I'm so glad that information first came from a retired military person, didn't it? So I'm glad that they're speaking out. And I'm also, this is why I was questioning when Donald Trump was saying, I'm going to get the military to go to war against its own people who were peacefully protesting in the streets. I was calling up relatives and friends like veterans saying, look, black people, of course, you're going to go to war for this president against your own people, maybe your own brothers and sisters, your own families, your own neighbors. You are going to take up military arms against people protesting for the same freedoms that you have been sent to fight for other countries. And these people look like you and might be your family? Yeah. Somebody better be protesting. Yeah. I don't care if it is a mutiny. Somebody better be doing something, and you will have support. That's the same thing that happened in Venezuela. When the president sent his military out and they were uprising, they laid down those arms and said, we're not going. Yeah. And so I think that our veterans here, and I might be speaking out of turn, I'm not a veteran, but I have many in my family, including my brother. I just can't see it. I cannot see us getting to that, not with the makeup of our military and all the black and brown people who are serving this country with honor, going to war against their own people who look like them. I don't think Trump has that respect from the military, and we hear that from the military leaders who spoke out about exactly that plan. Yeah. And certainly not from the troops.
Well, it was U.S. intelligence officers and special operations forces in Afghanistan that told their superiors back in January about this Russian plot to pay bounties to the Taliban to kill American troops in Afghanistan. So, I mean, it is the more we know, the uglier it gets, Roxanne. I mean, it's one thing to say, mean things about people or whatever on Twitter. It's another thing to abandon our troops to these Russian bounties, to be killed by the Taliban in Afghanistan and say and do nothing when you knew about it.
Listen, didn't he? I mean, this is the same guy who also made a big deal about Benghazi and Hillary Clinton should be in prison, jail, and all of that stuff. And so, I mean, the hypocrisy and the ignorance of this president, it knows no bounds. Yeah. And I think when he leaves office, we will spend maybe generations, if we can get him out of office, studying what went wrong, all the damage he did, the stuff that we don't really know about now, right? But it has everlasting effects. It will be a whole case study for how a country, like the downfall of a country, the downfall of democracy, because that's exactly what's happening under him. And we're so close, we can't really see it because we're fighting these small battles. We don't have a chance to really focus on all the damage he's done in finance. I know we're on justice, right? Like on justice, but we're not looking at the inner workings, like the weaving of our capitalist democracy. And so we're going to find all over the landscape in finance, in climate issues, and every single issue that we have, we're gonna really have to dig deep to try to undo some of the damage. And it's only damage if you're, not in the 1%, right? If you're not controlling a market, it's damage. Yeah. So it will take us a long time to kind of undo the damage that he's done, and the more that it leaks out, that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's not even the real stuff.
Yeah, we will see. Indeed. That is Roxanne Jones, a CNN commentator, former Philadelphia Inquirer editor, as well as Emmy-nominated producer, co-author of Say It Loud, an illustrated history of the black athlete, and the owner of the Push Marketing Group, a media strategy firm. Roxanne, thanks so much.
Thank you, Solomon. Have a good week.
All right, you too. We are going to go to break. And on the other side of this break, we're going to talk with our next guest, Mark Diamondstein. Speaking of what's happening on the federal level, the Postal Service is undergoing some change, and Mark Diamondstein is the president of the American Postal Workers Union. We'll be talking with him on the other side of this break. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
This hour is brought to you by Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church. Visit enontab.org. Enon, a place where people encounter God.
Get your money straight.
Get my money right.
With Solomon Jones and Akbar Hassan.
Fridays on Wake Up with Word.
7 a.m. till 10 a.m. Hosted by Solomon Jones. Exclusively on Word Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Streaming live on wordradio.com and on the Word Radio app.
Dietz & Watson has been making premium meats and artisan cheeses for over 80 years. And when it comes to stacking sandwiches and party platters, they've got something for everyone in the family, like maple honey turkey breast, American cheese, buffalo chicken, and more. So get to your local deli and taste 4 generations of family recipes. With Dietz & Watson on the table, you'll have everyone coming back for seconds and thirds. Dietz & Watson, it's a family thing since 1939.
This is Word Radio, independent black media.
One day. Frank Rizzo's statue may be gone, but the Fraternal Order of Police maintains a dictatorship over the political establishment of Philadelphia. Decertify the FOP, bring Mumia home, defund the police. Rally in March, July 4th, 2020, 12 noon, at the site of the fallen Rizzo statue. For more information, go to mobilization4mumia.com. Join us, July 4th, 12 noon, at the site of the fallen Rizzo statue. See you there.
This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Independent black media. It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on Word Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and we are back with Mark Diamondstein. He's president of the American Postal Workers Union, and he joins us to talk about some changes that are happening under the Trump administration and how that is affecting the rank and file. Mark, good morning.
Good morning, and thanks so much for having me on.
You're welcome. So, what's going on with the Postal Service? We've seen some criticism of the Postal Service from the president and talk about raising the rates and replacing the Inspector General of the Postal Inspector. What's going on with the Postal Service?
Well, the post office is a national treasure that belongs to each and every one of us, older than the country itself, enshrined in the Constitution, and has had this wonderful mission of binding the people together, binding the country together, and a universal service obligation. And it's a wonderful thing. That means we all have the same right for the same uniform, reasonable rates. Wherever we live, whoever we are, from the central urban centers to the most remote rural areas, same service, 160 million addresses a day. This administration, unfortunately, has an agenda. This is not coming from Mark Dimenstein of the American Postal Workers Union. They, unfortunately, have an agenda that they put into writing. And they want to privatize the Postal Service. They put it in writing in June 2018. And privatization means that they want to sell what belongs to all of us as the people and the public. They want to break it up, sell it to private corporations. And, of course, what would happen then is whether we get postal services, under what condition and what cost, would depend on whether somebody can make a quick and big dollar. So obviously, it would be a right that would be undermined. And then you add in the pandemic, which is not only a huge health and safety challenge for our communities and for postal workers as frontline essential workers, but the economic impact on all of us, on the world, on our country, on jobs, but also on the Postal Service. So mail volume has drastically dropped during this economic crisis. Package volume has made up for much of that loss temporarily, but it's not going to last. And so what's going to happen is that the post office, which does not run on tax dollars, most people probably don't realize that. There's no tax dollars that go into the post office. It runs off revenue of postage and postal services, and that revenue has to enable the post office to carry out our mission. And with revenue dropping with the pandemic in a projected way, it's going to drop. The post office is likely going to run out of money, and then those in the administration that have this privatization agenda are now using and promoting these deep changes. So that's where you get into the idea that you have a president that says we ought to raise postal rates 4 to 5 times. Well, you and I can send a priority mail package now for $8.30. And it goes anywhere in the country for the same flat rate cost, and we can put feathers in there, we can put rocks in there, and it costs the same. It doesn't matter how far it's going. So what the President of the United States is telling you and I that we now have to pay $40 for that. But he never told the private corporations who got $500 billion of money back in March that you have to raise rates or raise how much that steak costs at a restaurant, or how much that air ticket that air travel ticket should be, or how much a hotel room should be.
Well, let me just jump in and talk about, because I want to get to the nuts and bolts of this. So in May, the Postal Service's Board of Governors selected a guy named Louis DeJoy. He is a North Carolina businessman. He is a Republican contributor to lead the Postal Service. What does that mean in terms of pending changes at the Postal Service and how the Postal Service operates? Does that person leading that service mean that things are going to go differently?
Well, it could certainly mean that, because the Postmaster General has tremendous power in terms of policy, as does the Board of Governors, Postal Board of Governors. And so, look, it's brand new. We're not 100% sure. But the people of this country should be concerned, because this particular president has a habit of installing heads of agencies that are counter to and hostile to the mission of the government agency itself. And you could look to HUD for that. You could look to the Education Department. You could look to the EPA. So we are concerned that this new Postmaster General may have been put in there to carry out the agenda of this administration. And to get to the privatization piece, they want to raise rates, they want to lower service, and they want to cut workers' benefits. So, you know, if that's the case, then the people of the country who vastly and overwhelmingly support the public postal service will have to be very vigilant and resist any negative changes to cut service and raise rates and to undermine workers' rights and benefits. But, you know, some of it we'll have to see. He actually took office in June 15th, so he's been there about 2 weeks. But there could be deep changes in service, amount of delivery days, pricing, certainly on the package side. Can he determine pricing by himself? Does he have to do that with the Board of Governors? Like, how does that work? Yeah, well, there's two avenues that it works. There's a competitive side of postal products, and the package side is on the competitive side. And in the competitive side, they have a lot of say over the pricing, because they can work, in a sense, their own deals, their own business relationships with big retailers like Amazon or Walmart or eBay. And so on that side, they have a lot of broad parameters. On the rest of the mail, that does have to go to the Postal Regulatory Commission. And they're also bound by a 2006 law that says postal rates, letter rates cannot be raised more than the rate of inflation. But on the package side, they actually have a lot of say with these these business relationships. So yes, they actually can raise package rates.
When you say they, is it just the Postmaster General by himself, or does he have to get approval from the Board of Governors? Can he just unilaterally by himself say, we're going to raise the rates of the packages?
No.
He cannot.
That would have to be a Board of Governors choice. And the Postal Regulatory Commission would still have some oversight, but they don't have the say on the competitor side.
All right. Now, let me ask you this, because the big thing with the Postal Service now is that we are talking about having mail-in voting during this election that's coming up in November. Where is that, and how could that be affected by this new Postmaster General that's been put in place?
Well, vote by mail. We're huge fans of vote by mail. We think it's a great way to vote. 5 states do it by law. It's nothing new for postal workers in the post office. We've been doing it literally for generations with overseas military families. And so I'm more concerned that the economic impact of the pandemic can affect everything the post office does, including the question of mail balloting. And there's no question that mail balloting is going to rise during this pandemic. People are not going to be able to get out. Poll workers are not going to be able to work the polls. And access to our cherished right to vote is going to come down to whether we have a vibrant public postal service. So this pandemic, the economic impact of the pandemic is what's really at play here that could affect mail balloting. Congress, the House has now passed a new stimulus package called the HEROES Act. They obviously now goes to the Senate, and eventually it goes to the President. And they've asked, because the Postal Board of Governors asked, for a minimum of $25 billion appropriated taxpayer relief to make up for the COVID revenue loss. Yeah. And if that's there, then the post office is going to have no problem dealing with the mail, dealing with everything else we do, getting through this crisis, which is obviously going to be long-term. And this is not the last election either. This is an election, and an important one coming up. In terms of your specific, so, you know, what we need more than anything else is the real relief. People are calling their senators. They're saying, look, this is what the post office means to me. We want our taxpayer money in this one case to help what belongs to all of us and what we all need. And clearly in this pandemic, the value of the post office is clearer than ever. Mm-hmm. On the vote by mail, you know, your specific question about whether the new PMG could put in policies that could hurt vote by mail, certainly I would hope not. And it would be hard. Mail is mail. I mean, absentee ballots are mail. And mail has to be treated equally. It has to be treated with sanctity. It has to be treated with privacy. And so the mail ballots are going to be there. Now, what we hope is the post office continues a strong relationship with the states, because the states do run their elections, where they're available to help and assist and make recommendations for certain designs, certain colors, so the ballots stand out. And that's something that's up to the states. The post office has had a pretty robust program to work with any state that asks for the
vote by mail
effort. Mm-hmm. But a state can do vote by mail without ever talking to the United States Postal Service. Mm-hmm. They have a right to mail. They have a right to print up the ballots. They have So
I think, but I want to get to the heart of the issue, and we're talking with Mark Demenstein. He's president of the American Postal Workers Union. There are going to be millions of ballots probably going out by vote by mail in this election. It's going to be it's going to be used more because of the pandemic than it has been used before. Given that you have a new Postmaster General, who might have a different point of view on the Postal Service and how that Postal Service can be, could he hurt the Postal Service's ability to deliver those ballots, given that there will be millions more?
The millions more is not a challenge by itself. The post office is very nimble, has great capacity, can move things around if there's a natural disaster. You have big increases in mail on particular times of the year, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas cards, census information that goes to every household. So the post office has the capacity. What could interfere with it is if this new postmaster general quickly tries to slow down the mail, tries to reduce delivery days, try to close mail processing facilities, and therefore mail would stay in the system longer. That would have an effect on all of the mail, and certainly on ballots, because ballots have to move through the mail very efficiently, very quickly, and mail basically is very efficient. But there are policies they could put in place that could certainly have an impact on the mail. But it's not so easy for the Postmaster General is the Postmaster General. They have a lot of say, but Congress has a lot of say. In the past, the post office has tried to go to 5-day delivery, and Congress stopped it.
Okay.
So it's not so easy for them to just come in with a magic wand, because the people of the country are watching. We have a lot of friends on both sides of the aisle, and we'll have to work together, the unions, the people, those friends in Congress, and even those in the business community that are in the mailing industry that want good, everyday, efficient services. We're all going to have to work together to make sure that the post office stays strong and vibrant. And the first way to do that is to make sure that the stimulus funding includes some support for the public side, not just for the private corporation.
We're talking with Mark Demenstein. He is the president of the American Postal Workers Union. And so as we move toward this election, what can regular people do to make sure that there are no changes to the mail system to make the ballots move slower through the mail?
Well, I think probably two quick things. One is everybody could call their senators. There's 2 senators, obviously, in every state, and voice to their senators, because now it is in the hands of the Senate that the $25 billion relief that the House passed is something that they would like to see passed, that this is what the post office means to them, including when it comes to their precious right to vote. And the other thing that people can do, and every state law is a little different, and I'm not sure what it is in Philly and Pennsylvania, but people can get very proactive about asking for absentee ballots in advance. And we think the more of us that ask for absentee ballots, the more we'll have the access to that ballot box come this November. Clearly, this pandemic is frightening. It's real, and it's not going away. And we've had record cases in this country in the last 3 or 4 days. And come November, this virus is not magically going to be gone. So it is going to have a huge impact if we don't exercise our right to get those absentee ballots, and then we don't ensure that the post office is as strong as it can be to make sure that we can deliver this election and beyond.
That's Mark Demenstein. He is the president of the American Postal Workers Union. He joined us to talk about some of the challenges that the Postal Service is facing in the current administration.
If I can add very quickly, if the listeners want to go to apwu.org, apwu.org.
Yeah.
There is a way that you can then find out how to get right to your senators.
All right. I want to thank you so much. That's Mark Demenstein. We are going to.
Solomon.
You are quite welcome. Thank you for joining us. The postal workers, man, are dealing with, maybe a hostile postmaster general who has been put in by the Trump administration. We'll see. But one thing that Mark Demenstein pointed out that is absolutely right is that this administration has put people into these positions in order to tear down the very agencies that they're supposed to be running. That happened with the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. That happened with the Department of Education. That has happened across the board with many of these agencies. And so it is not beyond the realm of possibility that they would put somebody in as Postmaster General who's there to tear down the post office. It's just not, it's not impossible. So we're going to talk about it on the other side of this break. We're going to take your calls, 215-634-8065. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
Your child deserves to be educated in a safe learning environment. Southwest Leadership Academy Charter School is a tuition-free public school. Both our locations offer dual-gender environments with single-gender classrooms. Our students score in the top state testing percentile among area schools. Apply online at bit.ly/enrolls SLA in all caps. That's bit.ly/enroll SLA.
Would you like to know how to grow enough food to feed your family for a year? Then listen very carefully. Darrell Addison, an African-American inventor, created an organic growing system called Torpedo Pot. Torpedo Pot is affordable, easy to set up, and fully automated. Torpedo Pot will grow your food for you. Visit torpedopot.com or call 1-215-290-9013.
Be heard. Want another way to join the conversation?
Follow us on social media
using the hashtag onWURD.
Be heard.
Stay connected to Word Radio.
Independent Black Media.
Do you need health insurance for your children? The Children's Health Insurance Program, also known as CHIP, provides quality, affordable health insurance for Pennsylvania kids. CHIP ensures that kids can go to the doctor, receive health screenings and vaccines, and get what they need to live a healthy childhood. Families can be covered by CHIP no matter how much money they make. If you've experienced a recent change in employment or income, CHIP may be a good option for your family. Visit ChipCoversPAKids.com to apply or learn more.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Home of the Happy Hour. With Sincerely Sarita. This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
Streaming live at wordradio.com and on the Word Radio app.
It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on Word Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and I want to thank you for listening to Wake Up with Word. You can give us a call at 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That's the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things that we're talking about on this morning's show, including our top 3 stories, which include story number 1. The Supreme Court on Monday struck down a Louisiana law that could have left the state with a single abortion clinic, dashing the hopes of conservatives who were counting on President Trump's appointments to lead the court to sustain restrictions on abortion rights and eventually overrule Roe versus Wade. Story number 1A, because we just had too many. Members of Congress in both parties demanded answers on Monday about reported bounties paid by Russian operatives to Afghan insurgents for targeting American troops. Russians putting bounties on American troops. So much for all the people who talk about how much they love the troops, because Trump said nothing about it, even though he got a written briefing about it in February, and reports say that they knew about it as early as 2019. Story number 2, former Minneapolis police officer charged with killing George Floyd and the 3 other officers accused of aiding and abetting in his death appeared in court on Monday for a pretrial hearing. We'll see what happens with that. And of course, story number 3, Chief Inspector Anthony Boyle, one of the highest ranking officials in the Philadelphia Police Department, suspended Monday with intent to dismiss after an internal affairs investigation found neglect of duty, failure to supervise, and conduct unbecoming an officer. Among the things that he did was to assault a black female captain while she was in the process of making an arrest. And so we will see what happens with that. We want to hear from you. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. That's 215-634-8065. Lynn from Darby's on line 1. Go ahead, Lynn.
Good morning, Solomon and Kuwaisa and the Word family.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, while Mark was on, I just heard on the news this morning that President Trump was suing the post office for having those drop boxes during the primary. Now, I had suggested that they put drop boxes to help the mail-in ballots of people who were older and, you know, they couldn't get to the post office or whatnot. But we have to come up with other ideals for the mail-in ballots in November. We got to start early. But for him to sue the post office or just rant and rave about anything he could do, and that man he's appointed as the postmaster, I think he's going to try to fight us on this mail-in ballot thing. But with all this voter fraud and everything, we have to come up with different alternatives to, get our vote in. And Solomon, I wanted to, that Nightline story was so great.
Thank you.
Son, you're welcome. And I was like, what in the world is Revita Seaton Solomon Jr.? Because I didn't know it was done over a time span. Yeah. I was like, those homemade cakes and ice cream made him grow up real fast. But I really enjoyed that. And I just, with all this stuff coming out about racism and everything, is there any other way we can get rid of 45? He is getting on my last nerve. Solomon, you and Kuwaisa, I'm so happy that we can see her. And she's so cute. And I am so proud to see two beautiful black people representing WURD. It's just a nice sight to see.
Thank you.
You guys have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Lynn. You too, and we appreciate that. Nope, the only way to get them out, you got to vote them out. So, I mean, that's it. So, either we're going to vote or we're not, and that really is the bottom line. But I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD Radio, and thank you for your compliment on the piece on Nightline. Of course, we've posted that on the WURD Facebook page, so you can check that out there. Let's go back to the phone lines and talk to Halima from Philly on line 4. Good morning, Halima.
Yes, hi, good morning, Solomon and Kuwaisa. I wanted to talk this morning about this whole bounty on our troops.
Yes.
And, what I don't understand is how we can elect a president who's not qualified for office. He hasn't had any, education in government and politics and law. So how is it that he could have been elected to the highest appointment of the land in the first place? I used to work for the federal government, and in order to work for the federal government, you got to upload all of these documents proving that you are an expert in your field.
Yeah.
I had to do that as I worked and served the troops as a professional, board-certified chaplain. I have a doctorate in my field. I had to be an ordained minister to serve our chaplains at the Coatesville VA. And here this guy, he doesn't have to have any qualifications. I don't understand that. And what can we do about that in the future?
Yeah, an election is a popularity contest. That's what it is. And it's a state-by-state popularity contest. And one of the things that's alarming about the way our presidents are elected is because it's state by state. It's not just by the popular vote. So you have to win 270 electoral votes based on what states you win. So a certain key states you got to win. And he won those states barely, but he won them and was able to get into office based on winning a few key states, and that has to change, I think.
Right.
Overall, it's not just about unqualified people. It's people who the people didn't really want. He lost the popular vote by 3 million votes and still got in because he won key states. That needs to change. But we have to do our business here in Pennsylvania to make sure that we get them out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I hear you, Halima, and I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD. Let's go to Gloria from Sharon Hill on line 2. Go ahead, Gloria.
Good morning, Solomon.
Good morning.
Family. How are you?
Good, and you?
I'm fine. How's your family?
Good.
I'm sorry that I didn't see the show that you and your son were on. I worked. I was at home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, this guy, I call him Stick Willie. I think he put that guy in there and intentionally did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be.
It's a plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's a plan. I know what it is. Oh, the young lady that you said the gentleman that was in South Carolina was fired from his job because he called the police on a black woman and her children in the pool.
Yes. It was a woman that called, but yes.
A woman called. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry. Oh, she got fired. Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
She needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
So who she thought she was? A perfect patty also?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Now she don't have a job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That goes to show you. This is Solomon, we are targeted because of the color of our skin.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's
Basically,
unfortunate.
we're not stupid. Come on now. We were born last night, but not last night, okay? I know I wish I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night. All right, you have a good day.
All right, thank you so much, Gloria. Let's go to Renee from West Oak Lane on line 3. Go ahead, Renee. Go ahead, Renee.
Yeah, hello, Solomon.
Hi.
Hi. And WRD says thanks. I just want to make a comment on the postal. I believe any and everything can be tampered with, number one. And number two, I was listening to you earlier, and you were saying how, a lot of white people help you in your life. I can understand that because I can relate to that myself because I've had a lot of people help me outside of my race as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing of it is, like you said about people marching in the protest, you question people's actions, whether it's good. Are you genuine about what you're doing? Are you doing this to be fashionable? Are you doing this for brownie points?
Right.
Like with Trump giving people clemency, black people, are you doing this to get black votes? Like you said, you don't know the intentions of a person's mind, And another thing I wanted to tap in on too, the white men that had the arms, at the protest, when the Black Panthers did it, they made a law for them not to do it. Now, this is white privilege. These white people will be privileged to do these things, and the law doesn't do anything about it. Now, so far as being privileged as a white person, like the white man that put his knee in George Floyd's neck, that comes from being white privilege. That's a mental state. That's why he had his knee in his neck and was posing like he was, taking a picture for a magazine. Now, also, I want to get into the Columbus statue in South Philly when they had the Italians down there with gone guns and arms and stuff like that. I'm rushing like this because I know time is going.
Yeah.
I wanted to get into that because all these artifacts, all these statues of racism, the Confederate flag, why don't they just get together, get a museum, and put all of this stuff in a museum and call it the Racist Museum? Okay, that's all I wanted.
All right, I want to thank you for your call this morning on WURD Radio. If you want to get in, it's 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Of course, you can also weigh in on Facebook at onWURD. That's FORWURD, FORWURD. Kuwaisa, what are they saying this morning on Facebook?
So there are quite a few comments here. A few folks are responding to people, so I apologize if it sounds out of text here. Raphael Suleiman, there's always a grand plan when you deal with the government. The deep state that Trump talks about is a real thing. And then Deborah Dorn Carter says, my heart goes out to Elijah McClain, killed for no reason. What is it that our black men's life is not worth anything anymore? So that's another comment. Mary Melly Briggs says, Trump is a traitor to the USA. Everything he's doing shows his true character and the chaos he's creating to rob this country. Gary Murray says, if you need 1,000 absentee ballots or mail-in ballots, I can help you out with that. So that's another comment as well. And then I did see another one. Herman Downing, I wish someone would explain how the ballots are processed, the results tallied and preserved for safekeeping, so there aren't any shenanigans taking place by those who oppose mail-in voting. That's my real worry and concern. And Sugar Phillips says, no veterans should support the draft dodger who doesn't mind Russia killing our soldiers. So that's another comment as well. So quite a few folks weighing in here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy, man. When I hear that the president did not say or do anything when he found out that the Russians were putting bounties on the heads of our troops, paying the Taliban to kill American troops. You know, it just points to the hypocrisy of this dude, but not only him, but the people around him, because he was briefed on this. So people knew, right? Whoever briefed him had to know. The soldiers, the special forces soldiers over in Afghanistan who tipped their superiors had to know. So you had special forces soldiers, you had their superiors, you had the intelligence officials. So you had dozens, if not hundreds of people who knew that this was happening. And so even if he didn't say anything, somebody should have said something so that the people would know. It's no way in the world you run around talking about how much you love the troops. You run around talking about how much people should hate Colin Kaepernick because he's disrespecting the troops. What's more disrespectful than allowing somebody to die because their enemy, your enemy, put money on their head? What's more disrespectful than that? You're supposed to be leading these people, which means you're supposed to be looking out for their best interests. As a leader, really, see, people think that leadership is about the leader. No, it's about the people you're leading. It's about actually watching out for their interests over your own. Leadership is sacrifice. It's not, you know, for you to be this big grand person. No, it's about you sacrificing and serving the people that you are leading. And so when you are talking about leading the military as the commander-in-chief, how you the commander-in-chief, you know that the Russians put money out there to say kill Americans, and you won't say or do anything. But you claim you love the troops so much. Do you only love the troops when it gives you the opportunity to slam Colin Kaepernick? Is that the only time you love the troops? Or do you actually love them enough to say, well, wait a minute, you can't put money on the heads of our troops without some kind of consequence for you? It is unbelievable, man. This dude, I don't know what the Russians have on him. I don't know what they have on him, but it must be a doozy. Because he will not, to save his own life, stand up to Vladimir Putin. He stood there next to Vladimir Putin on that stage and let Vladimir Putin say he didn't interfere in the elections when he knew that Vladimir Putin interfered in the election. Stood there like a little puppy dog. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. You know, and so when we see this come out, that you actually let them put money out, pay people to kill American troops, and you did nothing, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. But what that should mean for all the people who claim they love the troops so much, for all the people who claim you got to respect the troops, you got to respect the flag, you got to, you know, for all the people who claim all of that, I want y'all to remember this moment. And I want to see what you do about this moment, because in this moment, Donald Trump put our troops' lives at stake and did nothing. He's got to go. That's it for today's show. I want to thank everybody who tuned in. I want to thank everybody who was a guest on today's show. I want to thank each and every one of you. And so, as always, I want to thank our guests, including journalist Sean Sullivan, Pennsylvania State Senator Anthony Hardy Williams, Dr. Delana Wardlaw, and Dr. Elena McDonald, CNN commentator Roxanne Jones, and Mark Demonstein of the American Postal Workers Union. And now, for super producer Kawesa Mathis and everyone here at WURD Radio, I am your host, Solomon Jones, saying stay tuned for Reality Check with Charles Ellison, and tune in tomorrow at 7 for more Wake Up with Word. Peace.
This hour was brought to you by Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church. Visit enontab.org. Enon, a place where people encounter God.
Check out the Source lineup on Word Radio. Mondays, get ready for the rapping professor, Dr. Aaron Smith. On Tuesdays, it's Andrea Lawful Sanders.
Then on Wednesdays,
it's the Black Women's Leadership Council. On Thursdays, it's a second helping of Andrea Lawful Sanders. And on Fridays, it's Tiffany Bacon.
Don't miss The Source.
Monday through Thursday, 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. and Fridays, 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. Exclusively on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Streaming live on WordRadio.com and on the Word Radio app.